Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the school committee budget workshop related to the, I can't believe I'm saying this, the 26-27 school year. I can remember when all the computers were going to go crazy in the year 2000. That's just aging myself, which I don't need to. We have a quorum for the school committee. Roger Bonin, Joyce Bakayaki, Jeff Sweat. So I'm officially calling the meeting to order. I understand there is not a quorum.
Correct.
For the finance committee. That does not mean we are not grateful for the fact that you're here, so thank you. I wish the town leadership was better represented, but we'll take the three of you.
Well, maybe this is...
Come on in.
Hello.
Good morning. And we have a seat for you right there on the end.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Amy, is it 3 syllables or 2?
It's 3.
Madison.
Yes.
Okay. Hartley Madison. She is currently the assistant superintendent of schools for Randolph Public Schools. But as of July 1, she will be succeeding our retiring Dr. Matt DeAndrea. So, Dr. Madison, Hartley Madison, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And thank your Randolph for letting you come.
Yes, I was sneaking a meeting this morning, so I apologize that I got here right on time.
All good. It's a workshop, so we'll be loose with Robert's rules. And by the way, thank you to Wareham Week for being here as well. I don't want constant interruptions, but certainly as the slides change, you should feel free to jump in, ask to be recognized, because I want it to be a conversation, I want it to be a discussion, and I certainly don't want you to have anything that's presented to be a mystery. If you've need clarification, ask for it, because we have all the people here necessary to make sure that you come away from this meeting workshop with a full understanding of what we're asking you to approve for the following school year. Any concerns or questions from anybody? All good? Then I will turn it over to Dr. Matt DeAndrea, and we'll begin the PowerPoint. It's all yours, Matt.
Thank you. So I first want to say thank you, FinCom members, for being here. I want to say thank you to our food service for the delicious treats. Please help yourself to those. As the chair said, I'm Matt DeAndrea, I'm superintendent of schools. I thought that maybe we'd have the admin team introduce themselves so you know who's in front of you. To my right here is...
Good morning, I'm Kristen Flynn, I'm the Director of Finance.
Good morning, I'm Tracy Cote, the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Technology.
And then we have our high school principal.
Good morning, Scott Palladino, Wareham High School Principal.
And then we have 2 of our new principals in the back.
Good morning, I'm Dr. Sarah Russo, I'm the principal at Wareham Middle School.
And I'm Dan Sylvester, principal at Wareham Elementary School.
Thank you. So this is a draft budget that we're going to present today. It's a work in progress. These types of workshops are helpful to us as we develop them. Your questions and input is helpful. I'd like to begin with an overview of the district. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is the mission of our district. So believe it or not, I did not get into education because I loved developing school budgets. And none of my colleagues, I'm willing to bet, would say that they did. Really, we've all gotten in because in our lives, probably at some point, there was someone who was a teacher or worked in a school that made a difference in our lives. And we got into education not for the money, but because we wanted to make a difference for kids. And so our mission really focuses on that. And there's really 3 key components: safe learning environment, and that certainly is more than just physical safety of our students, but it's also safety from being bullied, We really want them to feel like they belong in the school, they're part of a community. And when they have that type of mindset, that they're able to focus on learning. Respectful relationships, something that's very important for a life skill throughout their entire life. So we prepare them for life that way. And of course, having those in place, learning, with the foundation of that being literacy, and then leading into math, sciences, and history, and all the other things that we teach our kids. So this is, as we develop the budget and as we meet and discuss things, this is always at the forefront of our mind. Okay, I thought I'd share a little bit about the demographics of our students. We have a little over 1,900 kids. These are the students that we have in our 3 schools. We do have some kids that go out of district, almost 40 or so. That would be included, that number, but these are the ones just in district. 70.4% are considered high needs. High needs students are students that are categorized as low income, economically disadvantaged, English language learners or former English language learners, and special education. So that's 70% of our students. We have almost 2% are English language learners, which you can see compared to the state is pretty small. 62.9% are low income, and 27.9% are special ed students. I thought I would share some of the good things that have happened over the past few years in the district. We have been recognized back in 2023 by the Department of Education. Our elementary school was recognized as a school of recognition, which meant they on MCAS showed high achievement and high growth. I believe that was mostly in ELA. In 2024, a doctoral student at Lesley University was doing some research and found that Wareham Middle School was one of the only examples in the state of Massachusetts that produced significant student growth with a large percentage of students who are designated as low income. Just this year, 2025, we were recognized again by the Department of Education for raising our math MCAS scores to pre-pandemic levels, which has been sort of a measuring stick for the state since the pandemic on getting back to where we were in 2019. And we were able to do that in grades 3 through 7 in math. And there were only 63 districts recognized out of 302 in the state. The high school has been named a Unified Champion School for the work with our Special Olympics. And we have a dual enrollment program where we have 16 students at the high school that attend Bridgewater State University. And many of them leave high school with already a semester of college completed. So those are some of the things that are going on. We also have lots of curriculum successes that I thought would be important to share. And I thought we'd have Tracy Cote.
Matt, could I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Just go back to the previous slide. The publicity related to the successful elimination of MCAS as a graduation requirement has actually been, as the Commissioner of Education predicted from his son, which is admittedly only one data point, but his son told him, I don't care about MCAS anymore. So when you get to high school, which in our case is grade 8, and of course they take it in grade 8 and in grade 10, you've got a disincentive to even care about those results. So why is 3 through 7 significant? It's because 3 through 7, they don't seem to realize that what they're taking is no longer going to matter. But once they get to high school and they're being told by everybody, this doesn't matter anymore, they're across the state, the results are obvious, that the disincentive to do well has impacted the scores. So I think that 3 through 7 results are not only notable for the obvious reasons, but it's also notable that it doesn't go higher because there's no longer an incentive to do well. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, thank you. Good.
Okay, curriculum successes. So we have experienced significant budget cuts in our district for a few years now. But given those cuts, we still have some great successes within our district and in our schools. And programs, some have been cut, but we still have programs that we're keeping afloat. And they're making our students shine. You will be hearing later on in the presentation about grants that we receive. Grants are specific to specific needs within the district, but we're receiving these grants, and that's bringing in money, and that's keeping us afloat in a lot of these programs. So we've increased our CTE programs at the high school. We have such a fabulous program that has begun with preschoolers in the high school, and seeing the high school students working with those preschool students is it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, we would encourage you all to come in. Such a great experience. Mr. Palladino has implemented an EMT course, which the kids love this year. So we're continuing to increase those opportunities at the high school, and we're really seeing some successfully engaged students. We have a Playful Learning Institute in our elementary school, K through 3. That's a huge grant that we received. We're working with the state, we're getting state support, and it's been very wonderful, provided some materials for us, and training for our teachers and staff. And that is just such a fabulous program. We also at the high school have a marine biology laboratory hands-on experience that one of our teachers is bringing students from Wareham to, and it's an overnight program. AP is still alive and well at Wareham High School. We have 20 students that were just honored for receiving a score of 3 or higher on at least one AP exam. And we have 2 students recognized as AP scholars. We're collaborating for I think this is our 3rd year, with Buzzards Bay Coalition. Again, we partnered with them, received a grant. Our teachers were provided with PD, and our children from elementary school to the high school, not every grade, but have gone to Buzzards Bay, gone to their facility, received wonderful hands-on experience with our curriculum that the state is saying we need to implement. Such a great experience. We have specific teacher-designed curriculum that we're presenting to our children at the high school and the middle school. Why that's significant is we've had to cut money for curriculum. So we're implementing specifically designed curriculum to meet the needs of the children in front of us. We also have a science performance assessment ambassador that's in-house providing training to our children. The Department of Ed is changing how MCAS is presented with science, and that has been very productive and supportive of our science program throughout the district. And we have in-house MCAS alternative assessment trainers. All of this is significant in that we have teacher leaders in every building. Our students are shining. Kids at the high school are being accepted to MIT, Harvard, Notre Dame. It doesn't happen in other districts. So our kids are excelling and being accepted into major colleges. Why? Because they're phenomenal scholars. How are they becoming phenomenal scholars? They're becoming phenomenal scholars from being in Wareham. So as you see the budget, just keep in mind that we are staying afloat, we're staying ahead, but as we cut, it becomes significantly more challenging.
Thank you. Okay.
1 second.
Yep.
I just wanted, so you started out, Tracy, by saying that we had to cut programs, which unfortunately is true.
Yes.
And sometimes it is just because of the budget, but sometimes I can think of one at the high school, that we brought in an outside person, we did an analysis of that program and
Yes.
determined that it wasn't a good fit for Wareham.
Correct.
So sometimes it's not all about money, sometimes it's just about what's best for our students.
Absolutely.
And since then, we've we've gone on to bring in other things, like the innovative pathways, you know, those types of things. So I just want to point out and thank you for, you know, being open to making those changes for what's best for the students.
Absolutely. I think too, like, there are grants too that we can apply for, but you also have to see if it's a fit. So throughout
Absolutely.
my 31 years here, there's been programs that have been implemented because we received a grant that we applied for. So we have to be very thoughtful. I think in the last few years, we've been very thoughtful. And sometimes what we implement works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think if we're data-driven and we look at the data, and we also involve all stakeholders, and certainly our children, our families, our community is part of that decision. And I think with the program that was cut at the high school, I think that happened, and I think that's appropriate. And I think we feel the support of school committee in like allowing us to try this, and then if it doesn't work, say, you know what, this isn't working for us.
So we're about to get into the numbers, the dollars. I think it's important, and this is a good segue, because the upside of grants is it allows you to try things and see if it works and see if it's right for your district, et cetera, et cetera. The downside is frequent, maybe even more frequent these days than, certainly grants are coming down in dollar value. But if you find something that works and the grant ends, you've got a problem, because now you have to incorporate it into the LEA budget, and you may not be able to do that. So it's a mixed blessing, these grants, in my mind, and I've been watching this for 2 decades. And it's no one's fault, and you should take advantage of them, but trying to incorporate them into a shrinking LEA budget, when I say shrinking, it's not technically shrinking, but given the costs are constantly rising, it's very hard to incorporate great ideas into an existing budget. And I guess it's time to move on to the money.
Thank you. So these are what we call the cost centers of our budget. And I thought that what we would do is we would go through each one and break it down for you so you can see what makes it up. Clearly, there's the district, each of the schools, our curriculum, student services, which is special education, and then transportation. With the budget that we are discussing today is a level service budget, but also has some additional positions that we feel very strongly need to be added into our budget. So I'm calling this a level service plus budget. And those positions that we would like to add, the principals will be just talking a little bit about when they go through their part of the budget. So we'll start with the district. And this is the organizational chart for the district. Superintendent runs the district. I have an executive assistant sitting over there taking the minutes of this meeting. There are 3 directors under the superintendent. Director of Finance, Kristen Flynn to my right, which is a humongous job. Obviously, it is the budget, it is all the grants. She has 3 bookkeepers that work with her to manage all of that. But she also oversees transportation, facilities, and food service. So that's a very significant, important position. Then we have our Director of Teaching, Learning, and Technology, Tracy Cote to my left. Includes curriculum, professional development, assessment, technology, everything that we are teaching to our kids and how to teach it to them. So that is also an extremely important position. And then we have a Director of Student Services, which is special education. Also part of that is English language learners. That is Melissa Fay. She has, she oversees all of special education, which is always has many moving parts, and also oversees the out-of-district students. She has a coordinator for that. So those are the 3 director positions, and then we have our 3 principals for our 3 buildings, and they'll individually talk about their org charts for their buildings. And then we have our WCAS principal and director of Beyond School Time, Bethany Chandler, who will talk a little bit about her program later in the presentation. Yes, sir.
It's worth noting that, and I've been looking at this org chart for over 2 decades, that we have not succumbed to outsourcing transportation or food services. I believe we are saving significant money, and you can imagine if we decided to outsource that, the company would have to buy all new buses, and then if we ever decided to go back, we'd have to buy all new buses because we wouldn't inherit the ones that were owned by the bus company. So I think it's significant, and food services does a wonderful job, not only in terms of feeding our kids, but also in terms of actually giving occasionally a little, not occasionally, on an annual basis, a little money back, which they're allowed to do because of the administration's oversight of food services. They get to say that's worth a certain amount of money because it's an entirely independent budget, mostly federal? I guess it's mostly federal. So keep in mind those two bullets, transportation coordinator and director of food services are not outsourced, which is the way, what would you say, Kristen? 90% of the state is outsources?
Certainly for transportation,
Yes.
yes. A lot of districts still run their own food service operation. There are some that are outsourced, but certainly for transportation, we are one of the few districts that owns and operates. A few districts are looking into doing it, and just recently Worcester, which is a huge district, obviously, they went to own and operate their buses. But in other districts are looking at it, but primarily transportation is outsourced to a local or national transportation company. And I've done both, and I think when you have your own transportation in-house, you have more closer control because it's your equipment, it's your employees, it's your staff. They are typically, invested in Wareham, and sometimes we don't see that with some of the larger bus companies. So I think, that was one of the things when I came here that I certainly appreciated having. I mean, yes, it is, for a budget standpoint, it's easier when you have a bus contract, and that's, your one line item, but certainly overall, I think it is very beneficial to own and operate your own buses.
Just to Bill, I think you have a lot more control having your own. I mean, I think, being a control freak myself, I think that's a big plus. You have an issue, somebody has to answer to whomever.
Right, if you
I
have,
think it's
a
huge.
vendor, you're
Oh, yeah.
at their mercy sometimes, you can only chase them down so much, and typically you sign a 3 to sometimes 5 or more year contract for that service.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I want to just point out that several years ago, that was a hot button with transportation. You were on the school committee, I was on finance, and there was at least 2 or 3 studies done, and none of them proved that it was cost effective to contract out.
Yes, I
Each
remember
report,
that well.
yeah, each report proved that we saved money by running our own system. It's a little more complicated, of course, but it was more cost effective for the budget.
Alan?
A little over 15 years ago, I did a lot of work on this particular subject. And it's a real simple answer. If you've already invested in your buses internally, you've already invested in the repair service internally, there's no way to save any money, period. As long as you have a planned obsolescence change of buses, which is what we try to put through, anywhere from 4 to 7 years on a bus, you turn it over. You do 3 or 4 a year. Your fleet stays up to date. Your repair costs are at a minimum. Any other system is not going to work anymore.
And on top of that, I can't even remember, it's probably a lot of years now, but municipal maintenance in Dave Menard took over the maintenance, so we now have one maintenance department for all town vehicles. That seems to have worked really well. So, yes, we all have long memories about this issue.
Unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Matt, back to you.
Yeah, so I did want to point out, there was, when I first started, we had a couple additional directors. We had a district administrator, we had a director of technology, we were able to eliminate those positions as part of budget cuts and merge these and have the responsibilities picked up by other folks on this chart. The reason why I've been able to do this is and I want to say we got the new superintendent coming in. We have a fantastic administrative team here. This is my 11th year as a superintendent. I've had lots of administrative teams, and this is clearly the best. And when I say that, I mean the directors and the principals. It's just a really good team, a strong team, a dedicated team, a smart team. And that's what really makes, at least as part of the central office, makes it work, to your question.
And what's really interesting, and Tracy, who used to be principal of the middle school, now has this teaching students and technology.
Teaching, learning, and technology.
Teaching, learning, and technology. What's really interesting about that was created as a cost-saving measure, as Matt just said. But the whole issue of what role technology should play in the teaching and learning process is now bigger than ever. And so to have it under one person is actually a big advantage for us, frankly also because it's Tracy who's done such a fabulous job for us and knows exactly what she's doing in that role, even though she's only been doing it for about 3 months.
I appreciate that.
Okay, next slide, please. So this is just an overview of the two major parts of the district section. Salaries are 1.9 million, almost 2 million in salaries in the district part. And then expenses, 5.6 million for a total of about 7.5. So what I'd like to do is break these numbers down a little bit so you know what's going into them. So we'll start off with the salaries. Now, I don't plan on going over every single one of these lines. Some of them are self-explanatory, but I do want to hit on some of them. The 450, the first one, professional salaries, admin, 450, 311, that would be myself, the finance director, and our data coordinator here at central office. The second one, the nursing, those are our school nurses. We have 4 school nurses, 2 at the elementary school, that is 950 students, and then 1 nurse in each of the other two schools. Clerical salaries, that would be my administrative assistant and the bookkeepers for the finance director. Pupil the SRO, that would be for Carl Baptiste. Nursing, pupil services nursing. So we have in the district 2 CNAs, certified nursing assistants. And sometimes we have a student who has such medical needs that they have to have someone with the student all day to assist them. And that's what these 2 CNAs do for 2 separate students. Custodial, the 28,200, that is for our custodial substitutes. Fields and grounds, we have 2 individuals that oversee our fields and grounds. They do all the grass cutting, they paint the fields for the sporting events, they handle snow removal, and any other grounds work that needs to be done. And then we have operations, maintenance, facilities. That would be our facilities director. We have an HVAC individual and a plumber, which on its face, a lot of people say, that's an expense. Why don't you just actually go out and hire someone to come in and do your HVAC? We have really looked into this, and it does save us money. And it also saves us a lot of aggravation, because if you come in the morning and the heat's not working and it's 20 degrees out and students are walking in, we have the HVAC guy right on it right away. So this is a good team. We do split the plumber with the town. And so I think that's a benefit to both the town and to, and I actually think our HVAC guy does stuff for the town too. and the town doesn't pay us for that, so. I'm just saying.
I had to sneak that in.
No, but that's all good, because, I mean, you guys help us out in many, many ways. And then, technology, operations maintenance, 92,700. We have a network manager. And to the chair's point, you know, when I got into education, technology was, back in the 90s, it was very little. You'd have a computer, you could do some neat stuff with it, kids could play games. But then, you know, the internet developed, and all of a sudden, technology is so integrated in all organizations, but certainly schools. Everything we do is connected to technology. And as you've probably heard with these ransomware attacks and things, we gotta have a very secure system. And so we have a network manager that his primary job is keep our system secure. And he does, knock on wood, a great job. And that's a very important position. Then, of course, the crossing guard. Next slide.
One second.
Yes, sir.
One quick thing.
Yes,
I think people need to know that the CNA, sometimes they need to be on the buses also.
that's correct.
Not just school, I mean, that's a big
Yes, they do.
That is
responsibility right there also.
Yep. Okay, district expenses. Now, that, if I go back 2 slides, but you don't have to. The expenses was 5.6 million, and you might have said, wow, that's a lot for expenses. So let's find out what that's all about. So, this slide here, okay, school committee, that 141.8, that's our legal expenses. Administration superintendent, that's a line that I oversee. I use it mostly for supplies, memberships, travel, things like that. 15,000 business and finance. That's for our audit. We have to get audited every year. Postage, self-explanatory. Technology. This 232,500. This is for our systems, like for data management. We have Power School, which all our student data is in Power School. You might have heard when they had the Power School breach last year, which maybe you didn't hear about it, but it was not fun. Zoom phones, our website, something called Incident IQ, which is if a teacher's having a technology issue in a classroom, you go in and you put in a ticket, and somebody will come and take care of your issue. A system called Droplet, which is information and forms management system. So that pays for all of those types of things. 65,000 for course reimbursement. Our teachers, as part of their contract, receive $1,500 a year to take graduate level courses. And they can take advantage of it. Of course, they don't have to use the money, but many of them do take advantage of that. 37,550 for technology, so replacing aging technology. So every single one of our students has a Chromebook. And we have a cycle in which we lease Chromebooks. So is it a 3-year cycle, 4-year cycle? 3-year cycle. So every 3 years, after 3 years, a student will get a new Chromebook, and we return the Chromebooks. We do a great job of when Chromebooks break, taking them apart and reusing the parts, so we don't have to pay for any replacements. But that's what that money is mostly for. 163,000 for medical and health. We do have students who are so involved medically that they need an RN on the bus with them if they go to a specialized school. And so we contract out to put the nurse on the bus, and that's where what this line is used for. And then finally, the $7,000 for school security. We have a system that's called Navigate 360, which is an app that staff can put on their phones, The police have it on their phones, the fire have it on their phones, and if a situation arises in a building, say there's an intruder that is aiming to be destructive in some way, that anyone can use their phone and set off an alert, and it will go to everyone in the building, and it will go to the police and fire. So it can, we can respond in a timely fashion.
Quick question, feeling slightly defensive every time I see that number. 141,800. Kristen, is that both union and special education?
Yes, so general counsel and special education counsel. So general counsel would be anything that we're seeking legal assistance for. So it could be union negotiations, it could be a personnel issue, and then the other component of it is the legal expenses associated with special education. Sometimes there's hearings, sometimes there's advocates involved, so it's very prudent to have legal counsel help us out with some of those complex issues.
There's part of me that thinks that maybe should be in the student services budget.
It's the
But
way that the
every time I
Department of Ed
ask that question, I
classifies
get
it,
told,
yes, yes.
every time I get told, no, the state doesn't allow it, it has to go there.
So that is a good opportunity to say how this is organized. It's organized in such this way because that's how we have to report our revenues and expenditures to the state. So when you do a budget, everything has an account number and the categories are driven by the Department of Ed. So that is your answer there. So legal expenses are, they actually live around the same area as the business and finance expenses in the chart of accounts. So, but they're all encompassed under the main heading administration. You're going to see administration, instruction, that's self-explanatory. Pupil services is primarily, you're going to see health, nursing, health, transportation, and athletics and student activities. Another sheet, it will say operations and maintenance, that's self-explanatory. Benefits and fixed charges, in our case, that's mostly our copier leases. And then the other one that you will see on the next slide is going to be tuitions to other districts, and that's a big expense for us. So I think Matt's about to talk about that actually.
Okay, so, next slide. Okay, operations and maintenance, heating utilities, 15,200. This is for the McDuffie building, on the other side that we're using for our night school. That's mostly that's for obviously heating and utilities of that building. The custodial, $8,000. Our custodians have as part of their contract a clothing allowance, so that's what that line is used for. Fields and grounds, $100,000, that's for if they need any assistance with the plowing, for paints, for the fields, and other types of supplies that they'll need for the work that they do. Buildings and equipment, $28,000, that's for the HVAC and plumber supplies. Benefits and fixed charges insurance, $174,000. So we pay the town for our the health insurance of our food service employees. So that's what that money is used for. That's been in the budget since before I was here, so, and Kristen. So that was an agreement that the town and the school made at some point. Lease of equipment, $8,500, that is for the postal machine. The other one was for postage. This is for just to the lease of the machine. And now these last three are, when we looked at that $5 million of expenses, this is the bulk of that. These are the tuitions with other school districts. And this is tuitions that we pay for our special ed students that need to go into a specialized environment because it's not something that we can provide them here in our schools. So the first one, the $58,270, that is not specific to special education, that's Bristol Aggie. So if Upper Cape Tech doesn't offer a program that Bristol Aggie does offer, a student can apply to Bristol Aggie and get in, and we will be on the hook to pay the tuition. But it has to be a program that Upper Cape Tech does not offer. It's usually
Equine science.
equine science, okay.
And just, how many students would that represent, that 58? Two.
Do you
Not
want to know
cheap.
the answers to the next two lines?
No.
Because the cost for the collaborative is about $90,000 apiece, rough numbers. And the cost for the private special education is close to about $150,000 per student.
I kinda knew those answers, I wasn't sure about Aggie though.
But the other thing you should understand is that none of those costs per student are controllable by us. It's controlled by the state.
So I don't have to speak to those lines.
Sorry.
That's great, thank you. Okay, so that's a breakdown of the salary lines and the expenses in the district part of the budget. So now we'll transition over to curriculum, and Tracy will take care of that.
Yes. So it's not a huge budget, but professional salaries is part of my salary and curriculum stipends. A clerical salary, which the clerical work that's being done is huge, because it's not only the LEA budget for technology and curriculum, but it's also grant work. And so the administrative assistant that works with me works very closely with Kristen, because there's a lot involved in all of that. Supplies, professional development, so we do have 3 in-service days in the district. So that professional development is to pay for presenters that we can't pay for in our Title I grant. Our Title I identified schools right now is our cooperative school and LESS. So only Title I funds can be used for those 2 schools. Instructional software and supplemental programs, that's really to support the high school and the middle school. We pay for NUIA out of these line items, Clever, and any other instructional programs that will support the curriculum that our teachers are using, specifically, mostly, at the high school and the middle school.
I'm not sure the finance committee, if you know what NUIA is.
Oh, sorry.
We actually, I think it's more valuable than MCAS now. I think it stands for something like Northwestern Educational Assessment.
Yes.
Anyway, point is, we give it 3 times a year, and the beauty of it is the teachers get immediate feedback as to how the students are doing, as compared to MCAS, where they wait, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, it's absurd.
I think it was the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's of no value from a formative perspective, whereas NUIA is a wonderful value, and frankly, speaking only for myself, it's more important to me than MCAS, except that the state still looks at MCAS and judges the school on that basis, which I think is foolish, but anyway. And also, MCAS well, the high school knows this in particular, it consumes so much time away from education that its value is even diminished further.
If we rewrite the legislation, agree with it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to student services. This is special education and ELL. Well, special education, we have a separate slide for ELL. Professional salaries, $235. That's for our director of student support services and our out-of-district coordinator, which is a part-time .6 position. Professional salaries, medical and therapeutic, $466,000. This is for our BCBAs, which is Board Certified Behavioral Analyst. It's a certification, and they're in high demand. And what they do is they work with students who have challenges in their behavior, and they work with the teacher and the student to allow them to be in school safely and to be able to learn. We have two BCBA's at the elementary school and one at the middle and one at the high school. Professional salaries, tutoring, this is for if we hire a staff member to do some tutoring. Clerical salaries, that's for one secretary, if for special education. 120 for extended school year, 120,000. So some of the students who are on an education plan for special education have in their plan that they attend summer school, which is called ESY or extended school year. And this money is used to run that program. Expenses administration, this 31,100. This is for something that's called eSped, which is the data management system for special education for students' educational plans. And then we also have it's used for travel. This line also and for a copier lease. Expenses, medical and therapeutic, 160,000. This is for when we have to do an outside of it, hire someone from outside to do an evaluation of our student, or provide a student from services outside that we don't provide in school. For example, we have students that have visual challenges and things like that we provide services for them. And then tutoring, $150,000. This is for home and hospital tutoring. So if a student, for some reason, cannot come to school, whether it's in the hospital or they need to be at home, this money is used to hire a group that will provide tutoring for the student. And we're required by law to do that, of course. So that sums up special ed, curriculum, and the district part of the budget. And at this point, we will transition over to the high school.
Good morning.
1 second.
I just have one question.
Sure.
So, you started out with the organizational chart, you don't have to have it. So clearly, our biggest resource is our teachers and everyone else who work in the schools. That's right. So, at the beginning, when you're beginning the budget process, do you ever look at, and I'm sure you do, the resources that we have, those people, and start there and say, well, this is where we needed this year, but next year we need it more here? You know, is that part of the budget process?
It absolutely is. We're always looking at where the needs are, where they're shifting, and how we can do that. How we can do it with what we have. We always start with that.
Mm-hmm.
How can we manage something with what we have? It's not an automatic, well, just hire someone. It's like, well, let's look at, is there a less need somewhere else that we can shift somewhere else? Absolutely.
Well, right, so I mean, and as students move through, those needs change, right? So not a specific example, but just an example of something that's been changed to address a different need.
So 2 years ago, we were looking at budget cuts, and the elementary school had a retiring teacher in unified arts. And Dr. Chandler said, I need to replace this person, and but we don't have the funds to replace the person, so that could be a great cut. So Dr. Chandler and I worked outside the box, and I said, all right, well, let me look at my unified arts, let's look at your unified arts and see what we can come up with. So we proposed to Dr. DeAndrea sharing specialists. We looked at the high school too, but the high school's on a unique schedule that just doesn't fit with the elementary and the middle school, so it was kind of, we were looking at that, but it was kind of like, it just isn't possible. Like, I don't know, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G days, and it just doesn't, it's not conducive for elementary and middle school. So Dr. Chandler and I really worked on a schedule that we could share a PE teacher and an art teacher. So it has had some complications, but we've been doing it for 2 years, and I do think that it tremendously helped the elementary school not have another cut. So I think we were looking at the needs then and saying, all right, well, the middle school could give, I couldn't give 2 whole positions, and with PE, you're tied into offering PE to all the children. And we were also looking at the staff we have, which we do every year, and saying, we're trying to keep our staff that we have, and how can we do that without pink slipping current staff? And so we're always looking at, through retirements, and how can we change this? So that's one of the cases that.
Thank you, that's that's exactly what I was asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Who was first?
in,
Go
going
ahead,
back,
Maggie.
thank you. Going back to your demographics, and I know there's a number of subcategories that make it up, but you define high needs as 70% of the student body.
Can we go back to that slide?
Yeah, the demographics. Can you just define what that category is, because that's a huge number.
Yeah, these categories are Department of Ed categories. And so they at one point decided that they were gonna take, rather than having just a separate special ed category and a low-income category and an EL category, is they were saying all of these students that fall in these categories, and some of them fall in more than one category, are what we are gonna call high-need students. They're students that really need an extra level of focus on them because they have an added challenge that a student that wouldn't be designated or is not in one of those categories doesn't have. Whether it's learning, at the same time learning math, you're also learning English, and so that makes it super challenging if you're not fluent in English and you're sitting in a math class. And so we have to be aware of that, and how are we going to assist that student to help them be successful if they're struggling with learning English. Same with special ed. If they have a learning disability, how are we going to make sure that we support them with their learning disability in order they can still learn?
Excuse me, let me interrupt,
Yeah.
if I may. I'm not looking for the specifics of who they are. It's more of a general category here, high needs, 70%. Okay, I'm questioning high needs, 70% of the student body, as I watch them getting off the bus in front of my house and everything. And I'm just looking at these, let's say there's a dozen of them in my street collectively. Well, 70% of those statistically would say they're high needs. They've been to my door, trick-or-treating and all that stuff, and I look at them, I think, why are they high needs? What is it? They're normal kids.
Yeah. Well, they are normal kids, but it's because they fall into one of those categories. They're either low income, they're an ELL student, or they're special ed.
And as you point out, that is determined by the state someplace in Boston, as we call it, sometimes as a dirty word. But
Malden.
I'm just trying to get a general idea or an understanding that my kids that are going by my house are not high needs. It's someone else's interpretation of it that really doesn't live here.
Well, as Matt said, the high needs category encompasses several different categories, and some kids can be all three, and some kids might be just one. So it's an interesting categorization, and because I've been looking at this for 2 decades, the state has also changed how they categorize kids, so that makes it difficult. But just to put in this context, you depending on your neighborhood, okay, in which you live, since you can see a significant portion of high needs relates to income, if you're living in a wealthy neighborhood, it may not be 7 or 8 out of 12, okay? It may be 2 or 3 out of 12, okay, or less. You don't know. But I can tell you that right next door, the town of Bourne, that number is not 70.4, it's 50%. So I'm almost certain that that's mostly related to low income. And Wareham is, in general, an older and lower income community by far than the state on average.
I know, Jeff, you and I affect that and all, I think I'm offended by the generalization of that
Well,
category.
Don't be, because the
Yeah.
state is being offensive.
And I also think, I mean, if you talk to the state, Wareham's a unique community in that
Yes, it
we mirror an inner city, okay? So we mirror an inner city except for ELL population. We have a very low ELL population, but we mirror New Bedford, we mirror Fall River. So the state compares us, when they compare MCAS and they compare our statistics, they compare us to inner cities.
indeed,
And
yeah.
I do think that the police department, that the school system, that we see it. We see a very high needs population of students that we are supporting and that we need to support. And that's what we see in our classrooms.
It's actually even more complicated than that, because the student population is one thing. The town itself is another population. 20 years ago, plus or minus, mostly plus probably, we were getting about half of our budget, half of our foundation budget, to be technically correct, from the state, okay? It's now down to 30%. So we have lost 20% of our foundation budget because we are now considered a wealthier community as determined by property values and income, okay? But our student population is quite different than the overall town population, primarily because we have a lot of grandparents without any kids who actually might be quite wealthy, okay? So it's a very complex environment in which to figure out how this all impacts each other. Sorry.
and
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so you say you're offended by that number, but, I mean, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the 70% of kids who show up every day with one, either their special ed or their low income or their ELL, and they come in and they have to sit in the classroom and learn, so, and the teachers and everyone else has to teach them while managing those challenges that 70% of the kids have.
I think I have a more idealistic view in looking at the children in my neighborhood. They're average, normal children.
Yes.
Well, you
Yeah.
say normal, I mean, that's,
Well, that's
I
not
don't.
category, you have normal, then there's
Yeah,
normal, then
so
there's normal.
I'm a little offended by that, but I won't go into that. I'm just saying, like 70% of the kids, and they are coming in and learning and with those challenges. And the teachers are expected to teach them, and we're, and expected, of course, they,
and
you know, and that's that right there. You know.
And Bernie, I don't think it's the Department of Ed's intent to label kids. It's more, we don't go to the students and say, hey, you're a high needs kid, you know? It's more to measure us, is they develop these categories, and when we get the MCAS scores, they say, this is how your high needs students have done. And if our high needs students have performed poorly in literacy, we need to look at that and say, those students who have those challenges, we're doing something wrong. So it's more them telling us, these are your high needs kids, and this is how well you are doing with them. It's not, hey, we want to label these kids as high needs.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you're having a negative impact on how you.
Oh, no,
treat the children
I know
at
you're
all.
not, but I'm just
I'm
saying.
more or less defending the kids here in Wareham that I see in my neighborhood that are just down on the street, whatever, and I said, I don't like I'm offended by the characterization. I think they're normal. I think you're normal. I think you're normal. You're normal.
Well,
But we're all different.
We
I mean,
think they're wonderful.
Normal's different.
As well.
I can tell you, it add another layer of complexity, and that is, as the federal government is trying to dismantle and eliminate the Department of Education, okay, the federal Department of Education actually has a significant impact on some of those categories. Title I, for example, is, make sure I get this correct, is primarily for low-income kids. And yet, Title I used to be well over $1 million for this district, and now it's about 500,000 or something like that. So the federal government has almost no impact on Weston, okay? But it has a big impact on Wareham. So just all of those complexities make the budgeting process, back to us this morning, very complex.
Okay, with that, now, well, I guess
Sorry,
that's what
Joey.
he tried, Scott.
I let Bernie go first, I knew he was gonna be long. No, I got a few things from a member that couldn't be here, and I'm not looking for a response, I'm not gonna paraphrase what she,
Who's this from?
a member that's, was unable to attend,
Okay.
finance committee member. A lot of these were answered, so I'm not looking for a response, but she was looking for a detailed salary list. And I'll get together with Kristen sometime, and a lot of it's right here. She was looking for the expenses. I didn't want to put this work into it and not address it. The expenses which you answered, she had this, the day I got it, she had it, so, and the last, but as far as the district goes, is the salary contract for the new superintendent. What are those, what does it look like, basically? And I'm gonna leave the rest of it out, but she's just looking for that, and that's gonna.
Let me address
come up
that, since I'm
eventually.
the one responsible. Okay. We are in negotiations.
I kind of assumed that.
Okay? So I'm not willing to talk about it in any respect, except to say that it will be fair to both parties.
I'm not asking you to, I kind of assumed that.
Excuse me, Alan?
It's inappropriate this time.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. All right, Scott, third time lucky.
Thank you, that's fine. Appreciate everyone being here. Scott Palladino, Principal Wareham.
I'm sorry, Alan?
We cannot control the state, we cannot control the federal government. So what they do and what they categorize is irrelevant to Wareham, to us, because we cannot do anything at all at this point in time.
Well, it's
Except
not
do the best.
irrelevant. It's
irrelevant.
uncontrollable.
It's uncontrollable, but I
Yes.
say it's irrelevant because we can't make the change. We just take whatever we have,
Well,
do
we
the
have to
best we can.
adapt. Adapt and cope.
Cope, I don't think we can cope either. We do what we can.
We do what we can.
Right?
We have an image that we're like, we're not doing what we can, and that's a shame.
I'm sorry, say that last part?
There's an image for schools that they're not doing what they can, and it's really a shame because they have no idea how difficult it is to run a school.
Fair enough, yes. Are we ready for Scott? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you to the FinCom and the school committee and my colleagues for being here. Scott Palladino, Wareham High School Principal, and Scott, staying in order with the organizational chart, and I just want to highlight a few things there. We have, obviously, myself as the principal and two assistant principals. One assistant principal is really focused on instruction and assessments, and the other assistant principal is really involved in special ed. As you heard from Dr. DeAndrea, we have a very high special ed population, and it really encompasses two people to oversee that department, which is larger than 1/3 of the school at this present time. So we have an assistant principal, and she has a department head. All of our department heads teach. I just want to make sure everyone understands that department heads do teach. They are not a 1.0 FTE administrator, they have teaching responsibilities as well. Moving to our left on the chart, we have 3 deans who also teach, and they deal with discipline, attendance, and a lot of day-to-day operations, coverage for subs, and their job description is huge. But they also teach during the day as well. And I love this model because I think you have a tremendous amount of credibility with students and staff when you're in the classroom. I feel like I've lost some of that credibility over the years being out of the classroom. So I would never look to change that model, and it also gives us, I believe, a lot more bang for our buck because we're able to keep those people in the classroom where we need them. We need people in the classroom. We need as many people in the classroom as possible. So I love the model, and it's worked really well for us for many years. Going down below the deans, I have when I started, I had 13 department heads. I now have 4. We've obviously culled it down, and frankly, 13 was way too many. I inherited that. It was way too many. There were way too many voices, and we had a lot of trouble moving the school forward. So we're really in our sweet spot as far as deans. We've been able to do a lot of great things, as Dr. DeAndrea talked about earlier on the slideshow. These folks oversee multiple departments. That's the only negative is you're never an expert in math, foreign language, you don't have that expertise, but they do have the oversight, excuse me, of those departments. So it is tough from a curriculum standpoint to be strong in all the areas they oversee. But I think pedagogy is pedagogy, good teaching is good teaching, and they understand good teaching. So we have a humanities department head, math, world language, I'm stuck in my ways of foreign language, world language, science, art, business, vocational, she handles a lot, that's a huge department. And then we have, as I mentioned, the special ed department head. Underneath these department heads, again, going to the left, we have 6 English teachers, 4 social studies teachers, and 2 JROTC teachers. The JROTC financial piece is very interesting. The Army pays for half that for one position. Technically, it's half of each position, but I just say one position the Army pays for, we pay for the other. Underneath the math and world language department, we have 6 math teachers, 4 world language teachers. Underneath science, art, business, vocational, we have 7 science teachers, we have 2 business teachers, we have 3 art teachers, and 2 technical / vocational teachers. We have 3 guidance counselors, nurse, librarian, and 4 health and phys ed teachers. And then to the far right, we have a team chair, 17 special ed teachers, and 1 cooperative teacher, which is a special ed teacher for students that are struggling to be in school. At the very bottom, we have 22 paraprofessionals, 3 social workers, 5 cafeteria workers, 5 custodians, 5 secretaries, 1 BCBA, 1 behavioralist, 1 psychologist, 1 job coach, 3 CNAs, and a part-time AD, and I'll get to the AD later on in the slideshow. So that encompasses all of our staff at Wareham High School at the current moment. When we go to the next slide, we'll take a look at enrollment. And our current enrollment is 543 students. We anticipate 567. We have a small 9th grade class that we've been tracking since they were in kindergarten. They were small, and we've been watching them come up through the elementary school, through the middle school, and now they're at the high school. They will be in 10th grade, obviously, next year. Now, when you see the numbers kind of fluctuate, there are retentions that happen, so it's not like, okay, there's 82 kids in 9th grade this year, there'll be 82 in 10th grade. We have a formula we use to try and adjust for anticipated enrollment based on retentions. You'll notice grade 13, we also have students in ages 18 to 22 that stay with us until their 22nd birthday, and we have 10 students currently in school right now. We have 2 aging out, and we anticipate having 4 more coming up from the middle school next year, so we'll have a total of 12 students in grade 13. Moving on to our special education population. Right now, we have 182 students with IEPs, and we have students moving in every day with IEPs, so that number is only going to become inflated. It's very rare that students attain an IEP when they're in high school. It's not impossible, but it's usually they come in with IEPs, and again, it's rare, but it does happen on occasion where they'll be tested and they'll be found eligible for an IEP. As Dr. Deandra said, the ELL learners is really low, 1%. We have 5 ELL students. We have a great teacher who works with them, and they've been very successful over the years at Wareham High School. Moving on, I mentioned I would get to this athletic director slide. I have been asking for a couple of years now, when there were very tight budgetary times, really at the infancy of my principalship, we had an opportunity. The athletic director had resigned, and we had an opportunity. We actually filled the position temporarily for 1 year, and then we had an opportunity to try and save some money. And the idea was, I guess it was around 2015, 16, the idea was to use this as a fill gap for a year or 2 until the budget got better. And as you all know, many of you have been in town politics for a while, the budget really never got better, and we were never able to bring this back to a 1.0 FTE. My hope is that if not this year, next year, we would be able to get our athletic director to a full-time position. And what we're doing right now, frankly, and I know Mr. Sweat is a coach, is we have a wonderful, wonderful man who's really just keeping things afloat for us. He's part-time. He can't do all the things that are listed. I won't bore you with kind of the job description and what it would entail and why we rationalize it. But we're really not able to move our athletic program forward. And we're just maintaining, which is, there's something to be said for maintaining. We're not losing ground, but we're not bringing in what we need to bring in for programs to attract kids to stay in Wareham or come back to Wareham. So it's, again, it's just kind of status quo, which I think is unfortunate. And it's something that I would love to see in place. Again, if we can't do it this year, next year, I keep planting the seed in these presentations, hoping eventually it takes roots and goes forward. So that's just something on the athletic director. That's the only position I feel we need, assuming we can maintain all our positions that we have.
Go ahead, Joyce.
What is the additional cost in the budget for full-time?
It would be approximately $30,000.
So, expand athletic opportunities and programs for students. Are you literally talking about adding sports?
If there's a need,
Because
don't worry, it won't be in competition with tennis.
No. I have a different hat on at the moment.
Okay.
Because it's fair to say that with some sports, football comes to mind, although it's been better lately.
Sure.
You have difficulty just filling teams that we've got.
We've been very efficient, making sure we have enough kids to run GV programs. It's really the sub-varsity programs that over the years have kind of dwindled. But we've been bringing those back slowly but surely.
So not so much a new sport as below varsity.
Well, the new sport that I think, you've probably heard some conversation on, it's not really that new. Unfortunately, we got rid of cross-country due to budgetary cuts a few years back. And it's once you get rid of something, as you can see, it's very difficult to bring it back. I mean, obviously, we're talking in the realm of athletics, but even, as we get into the weeds of the classroom teachers, you lose a classroom teacher, you're never going to get them back. So we would like to see, there is a large number of students in the building that would like to have a cross-country team. There is a group right now of male students that would like to see volleyball brought back. As a matter of fact, they're creating a petition as we speak, trying to get enough interest. They're not there yet, certainly not to the point where we ask for it to be a club. I think that would be the appropriate step. Start it as a club and see if that interest gains, and then maybe come to the school committee with a change in the athletic budget. So there's interest in bringing these back. I don't think it would be like the first year we have a full-time AD, we're bringing these programs back in conjunction with that hire. I think it's, spend a little more time researching it. We used to have a golf team. That was cut. There are kids playing golf. Now the town has taken over the golf course, and I think there's even greater accessibility to that golf course now. So we have more students playing golf. Now, if they're a golf player, they then go somewhere else because we don't have golf here at the high school, so we lose those kids. So it's just, you want to be attractive. We're the only school that really has, I shouldn't say the only school that has competition, but we're the school that has the most competition. There's some private schools, obviously, for elementary, there's private schools for middle schools, but we've got the vocational school, we've got charter schools, we've got private schools. There's a lot of competition for high school age students in town, and that population has dwindled pretty much every year for the last 20 years in this town. So I want to make Wareham High School as attractive as possible to every student, and you need these programs to do it.
So, and don't misconstrue my question to mean I support the idea, but we eliminated user fees. How many years ago?
I think it was right around the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even remember how much user fees were generated.
$30,000, ironically.
Ironically. I assume that you're in favor of us continuing not to have user fees, and that would not be the way you'd like to pay for a full-time athletic director.
If you said I had to start user fees to pay for the athletic director, I'd say we're going to maintain what we have, because what we saw happen when we established user fees was our participation rate per population decreased drastically, specifically with the athletic programs that didn't have a youth program. So did it affect basketball? No, not at all. But did it affect our track team? Yes. Did it affect our volleyball team, our field hockey team? Yes. Baseball and softball were okay at the time. But when you don't have like that traditional youth program boosting up the high school program, those programs suffer. When you're charging the user fees.
So is it fair to say that if you spent $30,000 to make this full-time, you'd also you can't say to that person, because we've just spent $30,000 on you, so to speak, you can't have any money for boys volleyball, you can't have any money for the track team, you can't have any money for et cetera, a golf team. So the problem is the 30,000 is just the beginning of the additional spending that this full-time athletic director would want.
Possibly. I mean, I would certainly, as any good administrator would do, I would think you go into the job the first year and get a lay of the land and see, what are the strengths and weaknesses.
Hope the budget process got easier.
I don't know, I haven't seen it get easier
I haven't either.
in my tenure, but I think there's opportunities there. Like, one thing that we've done over the last couple of years is, we used to have a varsity and a JV coach. It was just like automatic for sports. And over the last few years, I've told our athletic director, if there are not enough kids to have, in most sports, 10 JV games, we're not paying for a JV coach. So for instance, this year in soccer and last year in soccer, we didn't have a JV boys coach because we just didn't have enough kids to have a JV team. So we've been pretty efficient, but I'm sure there'll be added costs. I mean, every year our transportation costs go up, our official costs go up for the officials. So there's increase in cost of doing business every year. And but again, it's just our athletic director does a wonderful job maintaining. We were very lucky to find him. He bailed us out in some tough economic times. At some point, we need to bring this back to a full-time position.
The flip side of this, of course, is how many students are we losing to school choice, et cetera, because we don't have these the sports that we used to have that would in fact pay for the additional cost if we got them. And no one knows the answers to those questions, but
Right.
Joyce has a thought.
I just have a question. So I would love to see you have a full-time athletic director, and I'd love to see you grow the sports program. My question is about user fees, and I'm not a fan of bringing them back. But when someone says to me, well, why aren't you charging user fees to offset the expenses? And I tell them the answer. And then they say, well, we have kids who are leaving Wareham and going to neighboring districts where they're paying hundreds of dollars in user fees. How do I answer that question? I'm serious, I get asked that question.
Well, I think the way they're going, they have high-functioning athletic programs. So, and the demographics, I would probably argue, are a lot different. I don't think they have 70% high-need students there, and a large percentage of that 70 is because of the financial hardships their families face. So,
Well, no, I understand that, like why they are, again, I'm not saying that we should charge user fees. I'm just saying there might be a student who is still willing to go to a neighboring district and pay that.
right, you're not going to get everyone back just because, like, let's just say it's golf, they're leaving for golf, let's just say.
Yeah.
Just because we start a golf program doesn't mean they're going to come back, and just because we have a golf program in place doesn't mean that seventh grader or eighth grader isn't going to go somewhere else. But to Mr. Sweat's point, I think the kids that are kind of on the fence, and the only reason they're leaving is because of golf or whatever it may be, those kids would be more inclined to stay. So I think, again, it's the more attractive programs you have, not just with athletics, but I know we're talking about athletics because the athletic
But no,
director
the
said,
whole-
but we're gonna get into more extracurricular activities in a future slide here for our clubs and our, JRC, band, drama. You've gotta have those programs, and it's part of the experience too. It's we're looking for our students to be well-rounded when they graduate. It's a comprehensive high school. We offer comprehensive programs. We have to have, those type of programs for our kids that, first of all, want to be here, and then in turn, certainly it will attract kids to stay here. Especially when they have success, the successful programs. I remember in '95 when we won the state championship for football, we didn't have enough jerseys the next year to put on kids' backs. We had to purchase extra equipment. So, winning obviously breeds interest and participation. So, I think we're headed in the right direction, but this would be a big piece if we can put that in play at some point.
The other element, of course, is you could have progressive user fees, which is to say, we have some very wealthy people in this community. We also have a lot of poverty. There's nothing wrong with wealthy people subsidizing low-income people. That is exactly the way this country operates in many respects. So, but that's another complexity, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, so continue.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, 1995, Scott, that's a long time ago.
I think that might have been the same year you started, so don't go there.
I was in high school.
No, you were not.
And he's retiring.
I think he started in Wareham in '95. I'm gonna go back and check that.
So I just wanted to say, one of the reasons I support this is, and I think we should charge this person with increasing participation. Participation in athletics kids are less likely to use substances.
all good,
They
yes.
have, more school spirit, they develop relationships.
They have better
get better
grades.
grades. There's so many benefits, and it's like, we gotta get someone in there, like, this is your charge, and we want these kids involved in these programs.
You don't have to convince us.
I know, but I want these folks to hear it.
Busy kids get better marks.
That's right.
That's right, that's a good point.
Right?
I think what we're talking dollars and cents here, of course, and the value in offering various athletic opportunities to the students. And one of the intangibles, though, is spirit. Because you come down to a big weekend, and everybody playing football, everybody's in basketball, and you can't count dollars in producing that. And that's additional value. I don't care if no one plays. The spirit that creates within the system is what our objective is, in addition to learning.
Jamie, note, a member of the finance committee said you can't count dollars.
One of our
Not
first.
unless they stretch.
One of our first principals said to me, as the athletic program goes, the school goes, and I didn't really understand it at the time. It was even earlier than '95, but there was some truth to that. The spirit, you can't really measure that, and when kids are excited because of things that are going on after school, they're more inclined to be engaged and present during school. So it's really, and that, in full disclosure, was what attracted me to be a high school teacher, was seeing that camaraderie, seeing that excitement, seeing kids outside of my classroom excel in their classroom after school. So I think I've talked a lot about the athletic director piece, so that's a very small piece of the budget. I'm gonna move on and just talk to you about salaries. So obviously, we've got principal, assistant principal salaries, department heads and deans, and again, I just want to reiterate, these people also teach, so even though we break them apart from the teacher's salary, they do have an impact on teaching. As we all, I think, will say today, the teachers are the glue that keeps things together. They're the most important people in the building. Our job is to make sure they have the support, supplies, everything that they need to be successful. Our med therapeutic, that is the speech language pathologists. Our substitute teachers, again, other than the teachers, they're also substitute teachers, secretaries, and custodians. They keep things moving, and we're very fortunate to have our subs that we have, because we do have, when you're around kids all day, and I think especially at the elementary school, you're more inclined to be sick throughout the school year. So very fortunate to have subs. The counselors and psychologists, this would include guidance counselors, school psychologists, and social workers. And then we have student activities. These are the after-school activities that our students can be involved in with advisors who, for the most part, are teachers. Moving on, staying with salaries. Our clerical salaries for instruction, these are 4 secretaries that we have in the building that handle everything from guidance, athletics, special ed, attendance, assessments, etc. And then we have our main office secretary under people services. And if you come to the high school, you greet her. She's just a great secretary as well. Instructional technology, this would be each building has someone that supports all the instructional technology for the building. They're there full-time all year round, getting our technology up and ready. And we have a lot of technology in the school. And we have been very fortunate to have maintained that technology since the infancy of that high school. We were a lighthouse school when it started. And frankly, we have really increased the technology over the last few years, and we've been very fortunate to have what we have in the school from a technological standpoint.
How important do you think technology is to the teaching and learning that goes on in the classrooms?
I think it's paramount.
There are people who have the opposite opinion now.
Well,
I'm not.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. I don't think it can drive all of your instruction, nor should it. I think it's important to have, but I also think it's important to tell the students on occasion, close your Chromebooks. Okay? I've seen, believe it or not, close your Chromebooks, and here's a small dry erase board. Okay? Again, everything kind of in moderation, but these interactive boards certainly have changed the way we've educated. Having, we used to have, you remember, and I know Matt remembers, the overhead projectors, and you'd be writing in it. Right now we have a document camera in every classroom, all right, that I can take this budget spreadsheet and show it to you on the board. There's all kinds of opportunities, and of course the web, just changes everything. So it's really important, and don't forget, we're the last school in the district, so they're going out into college, into professional, into vocational opportunities, so they have to be ready to utilize this technology. When I was a kid, the military would take anyone. Now, you have to have certain scores on the ASVAB because everything is driven by technology. So it's really, I think it's important for all schools to have technology, but obviously being biased as a high school principal, I think you have to have the newest technology.
And you do not believe that it's decreasing the amount of discussion that takes place between students and teachers, the fact that they're focused on a screen?
Oh, lunch duty's beautiful now. They're all on their screen. I've gone deaf from lunch duty over the years, but it's been, and going on a field trip on a bus, it's great. It used to be loud. It's definitely decreased the face-to-face communication, and that's why it's important on occasion, and our teachers do it, for them to say, okay, let's close the Chromebooks. We're not using technology now. And the Chromebooks, I think I've done almost 100 observations this year. I'm a little behind where I should be, but that's another story. When I go in, it's not always being used, but it's present. There's no doubt about it. Most of the teachers will have this up with maybe an agenda. They might have it with some instructional.
I ask this from a position of ignorance.
Sure.
Because I'm not an educator.
Sure.
But people are desperately trying to figure out why nationwide scores are just going like this.
Right.
And they're looking for reasons. And some people have concluded that education is not about screens. And that's the reason I'm asking it, not because I know the answer. I don't know the answer, but I think we damn well better come up with an answer, because we can't keep going down.
Like Mr. Palladino was saying, it is a balance, right? My daughter's a chemical engineer. She doesn't do anything without a computer. If she didn't have the experiences she had in high school and college with a computer, then she wouldn't be doing her field, because she wouldn't be able to do her job. So there has to be some type of balance. Don't get me wrong, the computer's not teaching our kids, right? But can it reinforce skills? Do we need to teach them the skills that they can access information appropriately? When we had the AI trainer there, our kids are accessing it at home. Our second graders, our third graders have phones now. So we need to teach them appropriately how to access information. And if we don't, then are we negligible?
I'll continue. Okay, so we've got obviously paraprofessionals. When you have high population of special ed, it's, I think, more efficient to have paraprofessionals than to have more small group instruction with a teacher who's licensed and costly. So we have those opportunities to have paraprofessionals support the instruction. Sometimes we have kids that just can't walk down the hallway because of balance issues, and they need a paraprofessional on their side. So we've got a lot of paraprofessionals that have assignments that are there because of either the numbers in the classroom or because of safety issues with the students. We also have a line item for substitute paraprofessionals, which are very tough to find, but on occasion we can find substitute paraprofessionals. And then we have our pupil services for athletics, and operations and maintenance, our custodian department and maintenance department. So those are the last of those salary line items.
Why would the high school have a significantly higher special education population than the other two schools?
We have, I believe part of that would be because we have students that are there until their 22nd birthday. We call it grade 13. So that would be part of it. And I think also there are many schools that our students in 9th grade transition out to that, how do I want to say this, like to attract students that don't have IEPs.
And you have a smaller population in each grade, so it's because we have Upper Cape. So you're taking a smaller population to get a percentage of the special ed students. And we have, as Mr. Palladino said, we have a huge population of transient kids that are coming in. And what he's seen over the last few years is that they're coming with an already established IEP.
It's been amazing, and I've been blessed to be principal for 16 years, and our demographic has totally shifted in that time frame. We have more people moving in. For every 5 kids that move in, 4 have IEPs. And some of them are very high needs, and some never even come to the high school. They go right out of district. So it's been an interesting transition during that time. But they're coming in with more needs, and obviously we want to support them. They live in our town. We want them to be successful, and we want to do everything we can for them to be successful, so that they can, when they graduate, pay taxes in town and support the next group of kids coming through. So it's important that we give them every service they need. All right, so we'll move on to our next slide, which is, I believe, the expenses. And in here, we have athletic expenses, transportation, the benefits, the operations and maintenance, and then the benefits are obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, we lease our copiers, which was the best decision that was ever made, because after 3 years, we cycle them out. And let me just say, after 3 years, they are pretty beat up and have millions and millions of copies. We're better now than we used to be, because we try to do everything digital, so my paper budget has gone down, which unfortunately it's only a few $1,000s, so it's not anything to get excited about, but what we've seen over the years is we've been able to cut that paper budget and move that money into kind of an instructional line item to offset the increased costs of our instructional line items. So we are utilizing the copiers less. Every few years we decrease the number of copiers. Unfortunately, the increasing cost of leasing kind of offsets that decreased copier, but we are trying to continue to make those copiers used less and less frequently. And then the last slide is just a summary of everything we've talked about. Obviously, the most important part are our teachers and having them in front of our students. A large percentage of that salary line item would be our teachers, and we do have expenses. We are seeing our expenses increasing, especially our instructional supplies. I'm sure you're aware, but we have not been able to use Walmart or Amazon over the last few years, and that has really, this year, it cost me over $7,000 on not being able to use that. And we've had to go to other vendors that are more expensive, and that has, I mean, obviously $7,000 is a very small percentage of the budget, but it has cost. We've also seen, even with other vendors that aren't Walmart and Amazon, we've seen increases and change supply issues over the years. So everything that we're ordering now, we're paying anywhere from 10% more than we did the year before to sometimes as high as 15%.
Why do you assume the finance committee knows that Amazon and Walmart are a problem?
I don't assume that they know that.
Okay, why can't you use them?
I'm not sure.
I can answer that. While I was on the select board, I'm probably the only one that ever went through every single line item of the warrant to pay their bills weekly. A few things came up which were bought through Amazon, which really didn't make much sense at all to me. So between myself and the town accountant, came up with a simple form, which Kristen had supplied, explaining, what the item was, and it was a savings, whatever. I have no idea what happened after that because it was working fine. So you have an idea whether something stopped or not, but, we only did that just to make sure we knew what we're doing. But obviously something has happened to completely cut it off.
Yeah, I know my secretary spent 10 hours trying for about a $300 purchase to try and give everyone what they needed, and after that, I don't believe we were allowed to use it again. But she spent 10 hours on a $300 order, going back and forth multiple days trying to get that.
It was really just an explanation of what it was for. Because the problem we have in town has also, if you have full access to Amazon, you buy whatever you want. There's no check and balance as to what they're buying. It's not so much the cost, it's just something you should be buying.
So,
Really answer an explanation.
So I worked with the high school when they went through that process of trying to answer the town's questions. teachers aren't just ordering items, there's a purchasing process where purchase orders are signed off on by more than one person. So, I mean, this is a much bigger conversation than we wanna get into right now.
I agree.
But, yeah, right.
I think what
I'll just
Scott
say
said,
that.
it came down to, we were providing the information, but the amount of time for the teachers and the staff to provide those explanations that sometimes came back to us for more information, and it just, and to use Amazon, the assumptions that I've been given is that if Mr. Palladino's teachers or whoever wants to use Amazon to buy something, we have to get 3 quotes from Amazon, and that is, 3 other quotes. That's the instructions that we were operating on. So that came into the time aspect of it. So maybe you want to buy, and Amazon sells anything from pencils, as we all know, to probably motor oil. So it's easy for people, for teachers and staff that don't have a lot of time to purchase these things. So to do the paperwork involved is what kind of tied us up, and Scott's secretary and my office has spent hours on this, and it just became a cost benefit issue.
And I think the
for that.
fluctuating prices, like hourly, I think also factored into some of the issues. Again, this isn't gonna save the budget. I don't want you to think like, oh wow, if we use Walmart and Amazon, everyone's fine. It's just, for instance, when we could use it, and again, all purchases come through me at the high school, and I think it's similar for my contemporaries. It's not like teachers can order online. We were ordering microscopes, and we were looking at this science company for the microscopes, and they were, and they had all the specs, magnification, all that scientific stuff. And what I did in the past was I'd always have my secretary run it through, before I signed off on anything, she had to run it through Walmart and Amazon to see if it was cheaper. And in this particular situation, the department head for science was looking at these magnifying glasses that were about $180 on, I think it was Carolina Scientific, something along those lines. It was a scientific company. And so, per procedures, she said, Scott, I can get these for like $80 a piece on Walmart right now. And I said, well, we gotta make sure that the magnification, everything's the same. And we were able to get them at half price. I mean, that's an extreme example, but that saved us hundreds of dollars. Sometimes it's as simple as something as, we need staples, in there.
Okay, I'm going to
Yeah, so
give
it's
Scott
not.
the last word on this
Yes.
subject, to be continued.
Yes, thank you. Sorry I brought that up.
No, I'm gonna take responsibility
Yeah,
for.
I wish that would save the budget, and that we could fix that in like a minute, but again, it's just a small piece of the budget, and it's also very convenient, so I've digressed quite a bit. So, just going back to total salaries, expenses, obviously, you all have been in these positions for many years, you understand it costs more to run a high school, and obviously, at the 10 million and change, that's where we're at for a summary of what it would cost to run the high school again next year. Certainly, if you want me to answer any other questions, I'll do that. I'm sure I didn't keep you on time, but I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All good? Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Scott went over by an hour.
Well, in full disclosure, I started over though too, so I can't take all the credit.
I apologize.
Do we want to take 5 minutes?
Take 5.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, take 5. We'll recess for 5 minutes. Okay, we'll resume with the middle school. Dr. Russo, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good morning. As you said, my name is Dr. Sarah Russo, and I am the principal of Wareham Middle School. And it's an honor to be here today to share information on our school with you all. If you'd like to take a look at our organizational chart, Wareham Middle School does have 2 assistant principals. One of the assistant principals is in charge of special education. So not only is she the assistant principal of special education, she also acts as the team chair and the department chair for special education. So she wears many hats and has many responsibilities in that role. Our second assistant principal is responsible for discipline, 504s, and with the facilities of the building. If you look a little bit over to the right here, we have 3 department chairs. at Wareham Middle School. Those 3 department chairs also teach 3 classes a day, just like the model that you saw at the high school. We have the same model at the middle school. Those department chairs are department chairs for science, for ELA, and for unified arts.
Before you leave the org chart, are you about to?
No?
I
Go
saw you.
ahead with your question. No, no.
Well, did you inherit this org chart?
I did.
Okay, I want you to pretend that Tracy's not sitting there, okay? How do you feel about this org chart? Does it meet your needs?
Well, I think it meets the bare minimum, sir. So, I would love to have some things I can talk about a little bit further on
Fine,
in.
okay.
But we're making it work. We all wear many hats. We have a lot of responsibilities, but this is a staff that's very dynamic. They take on the challenge and they do well with it.
I'd like to hear your thoughts when you get to it.
Okay, all right. So we'll continue on to the bottom. All right, and so we have 25 teachers. We have, if you look to the right of that, our special ed teachers. We have 5 teachers that teach substantially separate classrooms. Those are for our students who are special needs. And we also have 6 inclusion special ed teachers, and those are special ed teachers who push into the classrooms. There's 2 of those per grade level. We have our counselors, 2 guidance counselors, our social worker, and our school psychologist, 1 nurse, our BCBA, and then as you come across, we have 13 paraprofessionals. Those paraprofessionals are strictly for special ed. They do not push into and just give solely academic support within just a general classroom. Those paraprofessionals are used in all of our special ed classes. Our custodians 5, and then we move on to our administrative assistants. We have 3 administrative assistants. 2 of those do work in the front office. The 3rd administrative assistant is solely for special education. So this is, as you can see, our projected enrollment for Wareham Middle School. I had to analyze data from Wareham Elementary School, and we make a projection as to how many students that we are having transition to the middle school. And next year, we project that 163 5th grade students will be coming in. We'll have projecting 140 6th graders, 140 7th graders, and then that gives us the total of 443 students projected for next year. All right, so after analyzing current special ed student enrollment, I had to take a look at what the students that are enrolled at Wareham Elementary School, and then see which one our 4th graders that are coming up to us, and then our current students. So Wareham Middle School is projected to have 114 special education students for the 2026-27 year, which would reflect just over 25% of our school population. Okay. As you can see, this slide begins our Wareham Middle School salaries. It breaks it out by line. Again, the department head salary line represents our 3 department chairs in English Language Arts, Unified Arts, and Science. And again, those 3 positions also teach 3 classes a day. The medical therapeutic salary line represents our speech language pathologists and our occupational therapists that provide services for our special education students. And then the very bottom line there, that one's very special to me. It means a lot to our students. That is our student activities line. That represents all of our club sponsors for our Wareham Middle School After School Club and activities. And that's a very vibrant community in our middle school. Our children stay after school for things such as JRTC, running club, chess club, band, jazz band, art club. And so that's just the stipends, and that's all staff that work that after school. Again, continuing with the salaries, at the top there, you're going to see the clerical salaries, and as I mentioned before, those are our 3 administrative assistants, and one of those administrative assistants purely works in just dealing with special education documentation for IEP meetings, making appointments, and so forth. Then if you continue down under other salaries for technology, you will see That includes one Wareham Middle School IT person who also supports IT within the district. So we kind of share him. And then down at the bottom, which brings the total to $6,113,557. Okay, we're now just discussing Wareham Middle School's expenses, our instructional expenses there. That includes items such as, we were talking about tech earlier and about using Chromebooks, but at the middle school, we also use novels. And so part of that is buying novels, so students are able to do novel studies within English language arts classes. So that instructional line also includes materials for STEAM experiments and lessons, some computer supplies, learning software, and other learning media, as well as just general student supplies, such as our journals, our folders, pencils, and calculators. And then if you come down to our operations and maintenance, I just want to take a moment. I want to say thank you to the town of Wareham. I know our school was built in the mid-1950s, but we're very grateful to the town of Wareham for supporting the roof project here at the middle school. Our school is in great shape due to that project. It's safe, the building is safe for our students. However, with that, our school does require maintenance to keep it in good condition. So when you look at the operations and maintenance line there, that includes the maintenance for the entire school building, the entire building. And that includes like our custodial cleaning supplies, anything dealing with like our fire protection systems, any electrical work, plumbing, sewer, as well as, you know, our power and our heat and so forth. So, and then finally, just down to the basics, like our necessities, like hygiene products and soap and so forth. So in summary, combining both the salaries and our expenses, the total for Wareham Middle School is $6,703,132. Okay.
So, now you've been on the job for a few months,
A few months, yes, sir, since August 1st.
and what would you do to this org chart if you could wave a magic wand?
If I could wave a magic wand, I would add between 2 and 3 interventionists to help with our English language arts and our mathematics. I say 2 to 3, I would love 3, I could put one in every grade level then, if I could choose that, but that's where I would spend the money.
And I know I'm not gonna be insulting Dan, because he just arrived as well, but is this because kids are coming from the elementary school unprepared for middle school?
No, I don't think so. I just feel that there's a transition time when students transfer from elementary school to the middle school. They're no longer learning to read, they're reading to learn.
Right.
And so we need things like that, like interventionists, so we can give, or we can actually fine tune our instruction to meet that student's exact needs. So we can pull small groups and be able to work with them.
So if a student, to the extent that we believe in MCAS, so if a student is on grade level, proficient, ELA, comprehension, and I guess the interventionist is it math as well as ELA?
Yes.
Okay. If they're proficient and on grade level and leaving 4th grade and arriving to you, you still believe you need an interventionist?
I would think we would not want that student to flatline, so it's important that we could also use that interventionist to push their skills even further.
So why shouldn't we expect, and I'm being argumentative intentionally,
Okay.
why shouldn't we expect a teacher to be able to continue to demonstrate growth on a student who arrives ready to be taught based on their grade level proficiency?
I would think that you would see that growth.
Then why do I need an interventionist?
Again, if you were asking me for an average student who comes in at grade level skills, I would use that interventionist to push that student to go on to gain more skills. Otherwise, that interventionist can be used for a student who doesn't have the mastery of the skills. And so, and also you have to be reflective. We can't be perfect in everything. So it would be nice to have that extra support, because you asked me if it was a nice thing to have. It would be nice to have that extra support to figure out, tease out where a student might need that little extra to help them in learning, and to be able to have that person to push in to help with that.
So my background is healthcare, and you're almost a rich person when they get admitted to the hospital gets a private duty nurse, right? Because they want to make sure they get every possible need that the regular staff nurse can't provide. Well, guess what? The hospital cannot provide that because it's too expensive. It almost seems like you're asking for something that would be very valuable, but should a public school be expected to provide an interventionist to a student who is doing just fine?
I guess it's a matter of opinion. I feel like it's my role to be sure that all students excel. Whether they come in a student who has high needs and may not be at grade level skills, or a student who's at grade level skills, or a student who's at above grade level skills, it's my job to ensure that they have growth.
I appreciate that, and I'll stop being argumentative, but I'm looking at social workers, school psychologists, a 8 BCBA, or 0.8, sorry, a BCBA,
Right.
and you still want an interventionist.
But that's instructional.
I understand.
You asked me,
Yes, I
so, yes.
And Jeff, all the ones you just mentioned are working with our special education population, because
Yeah.
we have to provide those services. So our counselors, I would beg to believe that Sarah's counselors probably spend 50% of their day providing counseling services that we have to provide that are on their IEPs.
You're talking about, or at least Sarah's talking about interventionists
Correct.
for regular students.
For regular ed students, and let's not be naive in thinking that those regular ed students are all at grade level.
I
They're
didn't
not.
say they're all, I said for those that are.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're not all at grade level. We know that. We know what our population is and where we're at. We know that, right?
Yes, I'm trying to tie the needs of the middle school to the performance of the elementary school on those same students. Yes, I know, Dan, I'm challenging you to make sure that every kid who comes from the elementary school is ready for Sarah.
But that's not realistic though, and it's, Sarah's being gracious and kind, and she's not blaming it on the elementary school, because
That's because she needs to be at the
But
elementary.
that's not what we do in this district. We're not blaming it on the previous school. It's all of us together, and our kids in the elementary school, they're not on grade level. We know that. We know that they're not where we want them to be. Are they making growth and are they progressing? Yes. And look at our population of special ed. If we were doing everything that we could be doing at the elementary school, we would not have 114 kids on an IEP at the middle school. It's too high. It's way too high. Why are they going on an IEP? Because we're testing them and we're saying that they have a disability, but do they have a disability? Do they have a true disability? Or is it the curriculum that we're not getting to?
Speaking as a non-educator, I guess I would like to see the interventionist at Dan's
Correct,
in the
and
elementary school.
I would beg to believe that Sarah would too,
Absolutely.
but she needs to fight for her middle school
Right.
because she has a middle school hat on. However, Sarah would not be asking for interventionists
Yeah.
if we had the support, and you've heard this before from me, that we need at the elementary school.
On that, we agree.
Thank you.
All set.
Can I ask you a
I'm sorry.
So first, I just want to say, I really appreciate when you say that it's your intent to see growth in all students, whether they're below grade level, or at grade level, or above grade level, right? That's what you hope to see in every student, so I
Right.
really appreciate that you said that. And this is a question, I guess I should have asked Scott too, that I didn't. So this doesn't include class size.
Correct.
So it looks like your enrollment is going up next year,
Right.
from what you project. So I guess I would assume that that would mean that your class sizes would grow, but I don't maybe that's something that we'll see tonight in school improvement plans,
Right,
but,
well, I can answer your question, cause I analyze stuff like that.
I'm sure.
And so, it's projected to be roughly 20 students per class.
okay, at all three
In
grades?
3 grade levels, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah, and I took a long look at this budget. I analyzed the past one, there was a past, survey given to staff. I gave a survey on budget to our staff here, last week at the middle school. And I can tell you, the one thing that they covet, that they consider, sacred is, class size. So it's kind of interesting. It was actually the first and the second priority. I asked them to list me 3 priorities, and I gave them multiple choices, and class size actually was the number 1 response for the first and second choice. So it's something that's important to the staff here at Wareham Middle School. And that survey was not sent just to teachers, it was sent to all staff. Our custodians received the same survey, and our food service personnel, everybody, because we're a team, we're a family here, and it's important that we all have a say.
Okay, and then the only other thing, you talk about activities and how important they are, and so the band at the middle school, does
We're
so
exploding.
well, and there's not enough room for all the kids who wanna be in the band at the middle school, which is great, and the choir. And then it just seems to fall off at the high school, so this is, I guess, more a district thing, right? Because in that area, and maybe there are other areas too, like, it seems like there should be some continuation, like some conversations of how to keep all these kids in the middle school who are
We would love to
so-
have that vertical conversation, and that's part of it. We're looking for ways to ensure that our students stay here. The band is highly successful, we're at 102 as of last week. I'm sure you saw the article in the newspaper on that program. And for me, it would be very heartwarming to see that just flow right into the high school and have those students continue with those instruments, because there is research out there, musicians do well, it helps them academically, and so if we can, instill that in them, and then they go to the high school and they get to continue it, to me, that would be a very nice blessing.
Well, I mean, I've had that conversation with both the person at the middle school and the person at the high school, and they both wanna see that happen, so.
I do believe it started, so
Oh, good.
Jason came to Caitlin,
Oh, he did.
I think for the last 2 years, and he's
Okay.
been bringing band students from the high school to meet with Caitlin, and so,
All right, great.
yeah, and her classes, so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do think that the gap is being, as you know, the high school had different people in and out.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's beginning to build.
Okay.
And I think part of the challenge, because in my previous district, we had the same thing. And when you get to the high school, there's so many more options.
Right.
And so it's not that
Yeah.
the band kids say, I hate band, I'm not doing it anymore. It's that now I have a lot, am I gonna play a sport? Can I play the sport and be in band and be in
Yeah.
drum? And,
Yeah.
and they have to make choices.
Right. Well, as long as we're having the conversation, bridging that gap, so that's great, thank you.
And I just have one little closing thing. Wareham Middle School has made several difficult decisions over the past couple of years, including the reduction of several positions. Currently, we are operating with a very lean team, but like I said, we're very proactive, we accept the challenge. We want to do what's right for our students. It is crucial that our staff positions remain unchanged to ensure compliance with special education requirements, a safe learning environment for all of our students, and just the general safety of our school building. In the 2026 budget, we did not request for additional staff positions. Our primary request is that our existing staff remain the same.
All set. All set. Okay,
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Wareham Elementary School. And our new principal, Dan Sylvester.
Thank you all.
Welcome, Dan.
Hi. I'm getting my water because I am just getting over a cold and I have to hydrate on a regular basis. So I apologize for my voice ahead. I'm often a relatively quiet speaking person to begin with, and people often bring that to my attention, but I try to be a little bit more boisterous, and my voice is not being performing for me today, so I apologize for that ahead of time. So if you're not hearing me, please do just get on me. I'll speak a little bit louder. My name is Dan Sylvester. I'm the new principal at Wareham Elementary School. Proud to be here in the town. I've seen a lot of great things going on at the administrative level, at the district level, the building level, and our school committee level. FinCom, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you. I look forward to kind of addressing the elephant in the room as to what the largest school in the district has in store for the upcoming budget. So looking forward to that. I want to thank my team back at school. They're working hard while in my absence, trying to kind of maintain the building. It is challenging with the number of staff and administrators that we have to kind of maintain it. There's a lot that goes on within a day that is constantly being adjusted. Imagine putting 4 average-sized schools together. That's what we've done here, and they're back there working their tail off. So thanks to my leadership team, Ms. Bernard, Mike Coulette, their assistant principals, Wendy Owens, our department chair of childhood, Patrick Roach, our literacy department chair, and Lisa Antonelli, and Mary Morgan, who is our chairs, our department chairs. They are all back there working hard, so I really appreciate all that they've done and will continue to do. Our team focuses on providing a safe, healthy, engaging learning environment for our students. We carefully document and report information that helps us to develop an environment that's safe for our students and the well-being of our community. So we look forward to addressing that as we go through our budget. So as I look at our org, on the right slide here, obviously it's a little bit smaller than the high schools and the middle schools, but we are still the largest building number-wise. We have the most students per capita. We have a principal, myself, 2 assistants who are kind of split between the building, between grade levels. One works on the odd grade levels, one works on the even grade levels, and they split the kindergarten to work with different situations within kindergarten. But we also have department chairs, so early childhood. Ms. Owens, Wendy Owens, she is working as a department chair down and works primarily in the preschool K area. Helps support me, helps support students and the community at the kindergarten, preschool level. Has done an awesome job at getting the high school, preschool classroom up and running. A phenomenal effort that was funded through grant funds and has really supported our early learners. So we're excited about that. We've seen a lot of growth with our staff and our students in that environment, the high school. So we appreciate the high school opening that opportunity up for us. We have our teachers. Obviously, we have 49 teachers, pre-K to 4, unified arts teachers. They're great support. They really do bring our building to life. To me, unified arts are really what draw in a lot of our young learners to want to learn to read, want to do math. They are the STEAM teachers, the art teachers, the music teachers, the PE teachers, the instrument teachers, and they really draw in our kids' interest in a lot of things that they did to me as I grew up. Special ed is a substantially separate program, 7 teachers there and 9 inclusion teachers, as well as to support our classroom teachers and our special ed programs. We have counselors, 2 guidance counselors, 1 social worker, psychologists, and 2 team chairs that support primarily all the IEPs. I have to go back to the assistant principals. They also do, not only do they support student staff during the day, they also work on 504s. They are in charge of setting up meetings for those. And I'm going to go through a litany of other things as well, but that's another aspect of the assistant principal that is important and an important part of kind of their dual purpose within the multi-purpose, I should say, within our building. We have 1 ELA teacher right now. I did meet with him recently. He actually works pre-K through high school. In our discussion, he mentioned when he first started, he had a caseload of about 10 students. His current caseload is 30 students, and so he is progressing. As you can see, the numbers have grown. in the time frame that he has been here. So that's an area that, as we do still have the lower number of ELL students comparatively to the state and compared to other cities, but it is still an area that we are seeing some continued growth within our community, and we welcome. I think ELL is a great component of our community. I think the students that come in that are multilingual, they add some flavor to our community. They are willing to learn and be a part of our community, and we're really excited to help them to grow and to flourish as well. So, and then again, the next level is the nursing with 2 staff that work our very busy nurse's office. They are continual. It's a revolving door, and they're working with medications for students. They're working with students that have injuries or ailments throughout the day, making phone calls, going above and beyond, collecting clothes as needed for students, making students are clothed throughout the day as necessary. It is a very busy place, and they are awesome. They're a great component of our building. And then to go down to our paraprofessionals, with 33 paraprofessionals within the building, supporting students and supporting teachers throughout the day. A huge aspect of our learning. The teacher is the primary in front of the class who is working on making sure students have access to the curriculum. Paraprofessionals work with the teachers, running small groups, pulling kids within when they see students who are struggling as needed. But we do have limited within regular ed classes. Each grade level shares 1 para, and that is an area that they work really well. So it's 9 classes on average, and they're sharing 1 para per grade level. But then we have, and then so what within the preschool and kindergarten classes, kindergarten has 1 para as well that they share between 9 classes of kindergarten, 9 sessions of kindergarten. That is a challenge, and that's an area that I'll address further on as I move through this presentation. But it is an area that I know you have a tendency to ask me what I see as an outsider coming into the district and coming from other districts, and that's an area that I definitely see. And I know when we walked around with the new superintendent and the school committee members, they noticed that we didn't have those paras within the classroom at the kindergarten level. So that's something we would definitely like to address further. And then we have monitors, and that seems to be an area too. It might look like an easy cut to make. However, those positions in a building of the size that we have, they monitor areas where kids have a tendency to be mischievous or to be when they're unsupervised, going to the bathroom, walking through the hallways. They really get to know the kids. They actually really create good relationships with them, and they actually help them navigate the building safely and in a very family-friendly environment. So without those positions, and again, it just seems like an easy cut to make. I would not recommend that at all because it does have a huge impact. As small as it appears, it is a very big and very large component of what makes our school welcoming and healthy for our students. All right, so our enrollment maintained fairly consistently throughout the years. It's a plus or minus from this year to next year, as well as from grade level to grade level. It's fairly consistent with a total number of 945 students within our building. Currently projected to 947. Those numbers are based on obviously current enrollment, and we look at for pre-K, we look at the enrollment we currently have within our building, as well as surrounding preschools, which we have relationships with, knowing how many students will be coming out of those programs as well. So we have a really good relationship that's developing, and our preschool program with Wendy is really working on developing those relationships and getting resources to those kids sooner than later. So we're having them come in prepared for preschool within our building, or prepared for first grade or kindergarten within our building, and those resources and that prep work is going on as we speak for this coming school year. So it's going to be a huge benefit to us, and we're really looking forward to the, how that's gonna impact our upcoming classes. Any questions on the system?
Did you see why grade 4 was gonna be less cut going to next year?
Because of the prior school year, grade 3 is coming up at 158 students current enrollment, and so they'd be moving up to our 4th grade class.
Yeah.
It's just the number that we have enrolled currently, so that it's just, that's the size of that grouping.
They just all move up one, you know, so at
Yeah.
the middle, the fifth
Yeah.
grade will be a lot higher,
Right.
you know, that next year.
180.
Something doesn't
Make
make
sense?
sense?
Yeah, that's all.
Does that make sense?
Roger, right here,
So Bruce,
the third grade right now is 158.
Yeah.
So next year, the fourth grade will be 158, because the kids that are in third are gonna go to fourth. The
Okay.
fourth grade will go up to fifth, so the fifth will be 180
Oh,
next year.
okay.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
that's okay.
It gets
Sometimes it gets,
confusing.
when you look at all these numbers, it gets, believe me, I know. I'm looking at a lot of numbers, to make sure they all make sense is not an easy process, for sure. Special ed population, you talked about high needs at the beginning in the high needs presentation, and that 70% number. There's a large portion right there, it's 25% of our population is special education, with 3.1% in ELL learners. Again, with 30 students, that had prior years that as low as 10, with this, and currently we have one ELL teacher that goes K through, pre-K through high school.
Dan, is there one language that dominates?
That's a good question. I have the information, I just have to dig it out. Does anybody know that off the top of their head?
You mean as far as ELL students?
Yes.
Portuguese, I think,
Is it Portuguese? The Brazilian Portuguese?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and Creole.
Yeah, but we do have a variety of others.
I don't, it's not a set.
So I would,
So,
Portuguese doesn't surprise me because that's significant in New Bedford. But those are also, it's moving from New Bedford to Wareham at some point.
Yeah, and we have a large population of Egyptian students that go, they're transient too, so they spend part of the year here and then they usually leave
So that's-
early.
So that's Arabic.
Yes, and so, but I know that Dan definitely has a few Creole students
Mhm.
as well.
Creole,
That has
French,
moved in,
French,
yeah.
French Creole.
The
Yes.
French are primarily Haitian.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the elephant in the room. There's a lot to our assistant principals. There's a lot to the role of the assistant principal. And this stack that I have right here, and I brought this stack intentionally because we talk about how much technology we have available to us and how sometimes it doesn't give us as accurate information as we would like to have. So this is from the beginning of the school year until yesterday for behavior incidents within our building. This is all the paperwork, this is all the forms that come in. This is what our administrative team, assistant principals work with on a up until this point. So I'm going to pull up some data here that I have. This year we've had 299 incidents as of yesterday. There were 641 reported incidents last year. So a total of 641 last year. This year we have 299 to this point. Now we can say as I said at the start, we're looking at making sure we're collecting accurate data. And so I really have pushed that with my administrative teams, make sure that we are collecting everything we need to so that we can look at our school at the end of the year and say, hey, where are areas that we can grow? Where are these discipline issues coming from? What is something that we have to look at to address those issues further down the road? So that's something I'm really pushing with our administrative team, and they're awesome. They're really working hard to do this, so we can look at that number just saying, okay, we've done 299 this year. Compared to the same time frame last year, there were 204 incidences last year. So from 204 to 299 this year. And then for last school year, so we've had 55 days in school from August 28th to November 19th. There were that gives us about 5.4 recorded incidents per day. So the administrative, we split those up, so that's roughly 2, 3 per administrator per day. And then if we looked at approximately, I'm gonna give you approximates on how long that they're taking on each case, okay? So again, we're going with averages across the board. Figure they have to interview the victims, the witnesses, the perpetrators, that's about a half an hour. They have video reviews, minimum, and this is a new component to this, which adds a lot to an investigation, to behavioral situations. The video component, minimally, just to review video, is minimally a half hour. That's a light load. It usually takes longer than that because you're usually reviewing video, you have to go back and look at it from different perspectives, the child's perspective, the witness's perspective. There's a lot of different perspectives within it, and it's not, we don't have audio with it, but we do have video, and huge help. It does give us clarification of a lot of issues. But it takes a lot of time, and that's minimum a half hour. Phone calls, follow-up phone calls, those both roughly around half hour. You know, you're playing phone tag, you're catching up with people. Restorative practices after the fact, so once we kind of make the determinations, we have meetings with students, we try to give them strategies, give them approaches to the situation, and so that the restorative practice is, again, another half hour minimum. And then, of course, all the documentation, which is, again, roughly a half hour. So we're on average, it's about 2 to 3 hours per case, on average. And some can be longer, some can be shorter, but on average, we would say 2 to 3 hours per case. So we're looking at roughly 11 to 15 hours per week, split between 2 APs, so it's about 7.5 hours per 7.5 hours. So that's a huge component of it, but that's not all that they do. They're doing 504, setting up 504 meetings. They're having attending staff meetings, helping to develop the agendas for those staff meetings with me. They're going to curriculum trainings. They're working down the lunchroom. They're helping out with students during lunch as necessary. They have daily student supports, teaching supports. When they're in classrooms, they're doing observations. They work on sub coverage. They're working on hiring, to help out hiring. They sit on interviews. Crisis prevention interventions. Crisis prevention interventions, administrators have to be called for certain lengths of time. Students are out of the building in a crisis situation. So administrators are called to help out and to support in those situations when they exceed a lengthy period of time. So they're called out on average in our building. A building that we have this size is about 4 to 5 times a day to go to work in it, to help out in a CPI situation. As well as myself. All of this involves me as well. I just didn't put it in because it would muddy the waters, because these are really solely a lot of their responsibilities. But I'm there supporting them 110%. And when they're not able to meet their demands, I'm there just backing up and filling in their roles. So it does take some time. We have, again, 83 teachers to evaluate. They do observations of teachers and students. They do training, security trainings, curriculum training, professional development, and obviously scheduling and event planning, as well as data review and school improvement plans. All under the purview of an assistant principal, all along with making sure that all of these behavior issues that are being addressed professionally. We always know student behavior is student communication. So when we have student behaviors, we have to figure out what they're trying to communicate, how to address it, so that we can improve their performance behaviorally, socially, and academically. it all comes up to the academics eventually. So when we address these situations and we approach them in a way that's meaningful and it's prompt, we're going to see a lot more success for our students academically and socially moving forward. So it's a huge component. So that's kind of going with my elephant in the room.
So, Mayor, the elementary school, as Dan pointed out, has 2 assistant principals, and to his point, needs 3. So when I said this is a level service plus budget, this is one of the big pluses here. And we really do need this position based on everything that he just outlined. I'm in the buildings a lot. I speak with administration and staff often. Staff has encouraged me to say, we need additional support at the admin level. I can, I've been a superintendent for 11 years. I think I have a pretty good gauge when I'm working with someone, whether this person doesn't have enough responsibilities in the job, has about the right amount of responsibilities, or has too much. And when I go over to the elementary school, I sense they're great, they're competent, they're hardworking, but I sense they're a little bit overloaded. And I feel that we need to give them some relief, and this would be that relief.
Julie?
Listening to these numbers, I think I know the answer, but this isn't just unique to Wareham, the numbers that you have to deal with. Is it most towns in the area, or?
As far as behavioral issues
Yeah.
increasing, for sure. I think we're seeing a lot. And again, I think some of it, as I mentioned in my presentation, some of it is reporting. We're increasing our reporting, so we have the data to back up what the needs are within our building. Some of it is that. Some of it is obviously there's a lot of different social issues that we can point our fingers at. But we have to, whoever's in front of us, that's who our purview is to make sure that they're successful students.
Thank you.
So 2 questions. The first is this before parental involvement? The cases you're talking about, that's all in-house, or is that with the parent involved? And
These are just behavior incidents that are reported to us, and we have to address, and we address them accordingly. And parent involvement is usually 100% involved.
But after the fact?
Well, the behavior
The
happens.
behavior happens, we address it with the families. Yeah, we interview the students, we meet the families.
are the occurrences like more in one grade or another, or is it just all
No, it's
equal?
pretty well spread out across the
Okay.
grade levels. Yeah, there isn't, in one grade level is more than another. Obviously, kindergarten is a little bit less, first grade is a little bit less. As you move up in the grade levels, it gets a little bit more complex because the social interactions become more complex. That's usually where you see a lot of the behaviors.
You all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
So when you think about, you're saying your experience in other schools is not different, that behavior problems, and by the way, I liked your characterization of the fact that behavior problems is in fact a way of communication, the students communicating. You're saying in general, this is a problem that's increasing. Do you think, because I've frankly never heard a good answer for this, do you think this is also creating the academic problems within public schools, which is reflected in test scores going down across the country?
I would say it's definitely a component.
Because you pointed out, you have to solve the behavior, social problems before they can effectively learn. So when you think about a root cause, I mean, if your predecessor, Dr. Chandler, would say such a high percentage of the kids literally come unprepared to be educated, period, when they enter kindergarten. Maybe that's true of preschool too. Why do you think that is?
I think behavior is a learning process. So having those structures available to them, whether it's in preschools, whether it's in kindergarten, whether it's throughout their school career, I think those structures have to be in place. And I think within the network of society as we expand into technology and the internet and the other forms of information that are accessible to our students. We have to grow and expand as well to make sure that we're creating computer literate students and
I guess I'm getting
socially
back to,
literate students.
to Roger's point, which is to say, in your interactions with parents over the years, do you think parents are in fact, this is gonna sound like a terrible indictment, and I don't really mean it to be, but do you think parents are less effective in their parenting?
I think every parent does their best to parent their children with what they have and what their knowledge base is.
Then why are their kids coming increasingly unprepared to be educated?
As I've said, I think exponentially with technology the way it's grown, our community and our families have had to expand as well and learn strategies and how to utilize the technology in a way that's positive, how to help create our students that are critical thinkers in lieu of all of the technology that's available to them. It's an expansion in technology that was so grand that we now have an implosion. We're having a bit of an implosion, and we have to kind of help support our families, help support our students to be able to utilize that technology and to be able to grow with that technology.
Has technology become the parent?
On some levels,
Yeah, and I mean, maybe we had TV before too, that was the
Right.
parent, right?
yes.
Back in the day. But if 70% of our kids are high needs, I know we don't like that term, but 70% of our families are high needs, right? So they love their children and they're doing the best they can do. But even across the state, they're seeing this, and DESE is really pushing for 0 through 5. What are we doing for our 0 through 5 children?
0?
0 through 5. So it talks about, before children are even born, educating parents and what to do when children are born. So in this district, we really are looking at preschool population, and getting our children into Wareham Public Schools so that we can, I haven't been in the preschool classroom until this year, and it's a joy to see to see how the children came in, and then to see how much progress they've made already. I mean, it's fascinating, those preschool and kindergarten classes, to see the growth already in such a short amount of time. And really, you know, they're coming from home, so if they've never been in school, and we've seen this, that they've never been in an organized school until they're 5 or 6, it's challenging. It's different. You know, to have to listen to directions that aren't mom and dad, and to have to. So it's quite exceptional. I think what the teachers do at that school.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think you know, we had New Bedford Symphony come in and do that presentation for us, and I think our students they're sponges.
Yeah.
They will love anything that's new that's put in front of them, and so that's always our goal, is to try to find new opportunities for them to grow and expand. And technology allows them to absorb a lot of information as well. But again, that's part of our challenge, is how do we kind of find that balance, and how do we help them to become critical thinkers within the technology realm. And it's a big task. I will not lie to you. It is a big task.
We can continue for the rest of the day, but I'll shut myself up. Continue.
Thanks. Appreciate the question. So the next elephant in the room, well, this is small elephant. We have big. We have big space. We have a couple elephants. We have a fleet, which would be the paraprofessionals. Again, I'm going to kind of go through the importance of our paraprofessionals and the effect they have on our classrooms. In our regular classrooms, each grade level had one paraprofessional that they split between the 9 classes, 8 or 9 classrooms that they have, and they utilize them for small groups. We have what's called boost groups, which goes through our building from kindergarten. I'll talk about this evening. Goes through from kindergarten all the way through 4th grade. They set up leveled groupings within the grade level, and they would pull students into groups, and those groups can change. Obviously, as students progress in the curriculum, they can move into different groups. And absolutely, the teacher works in one group, they have a paraprofessional working in a group, they have independent group stations, independent workstations, so it's a really condensed opportunity for students and teachers to look at the students' data and to really focus their instruction on students. The small group instruction is, as we know, as teachers in education, small group is the ideal because you can see kids, you can make corrections instantaneously with your students and really see the growth, within that short period of time. It's an area that we're really focusing on in our building, and the paraprofessionals are a huge component of it. So not only at the kindergarten, not only at the upper grade levels, but in the kindergarten. I've never been in a school until this year that didn't have a para in every kindergarten.
Say that one more time, please.
I've never been in a school that hasn't had a para in every kindergarten.
Every kindergarten has a para. That's the norm for you.
That's the norm for me, yes. And so when I see, and I think about the family, right, the nuclear family, the family at home, you have 1 to 2 parents at home, and then on average, okay, so maybe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children in each family. So that's a pretty good ratio, right? So if you have, say, 6 children, if you have 2 parents, it's a 2 to 3. Now with the expanded family, sometimes you have 4 parents, right? So you can expand out pretty well as far as ratios go at home. But now if we have an environment where we're introducing curriculum, we're introducing complex language, we're introducing mathematics, we're introducing algebra, geometry, concepts that are, at one time, were developed that were solely talked about at the high school level, now are being introduced in kindergarten. And we have one teacher.
Algebra in kindergarten?
Concepts of algebra, sure. Yes. So now we have one teacher for 23 students, and they're all the same age.
And they don't just sit.
And they're not just, and we're introducing technology. They're learning about fine motor skills, cutting, painting, coloring, keyboarding, ocular tracking, gross motor skills. They're learning to walk in the building. That's the amazing thing. We have such a large building. You have 9 classrooms of students that are just learning to walk around a large building. Hold a door. The fire doors around the building are enormous when it's
They
hysterical.
can't hold them.
They can't hold the doors.
And you should see them
It's a
walking up
process.
the stairs, we put them on the bottom floor.
Yes.
I've never seen anything like it in my life. They should have never been in
It's
the
like the
basement.
March of the Penguins. It's like the March of the Penguins. You see them. It's hysterical. But it is what they do each and every day, and they work with these kiddos to kind of help them develop the motor skills, their social skills. Oh my gosh, the amount of social skills they're learning because they're dedicated to computers a lot of time, or phones, or whatever the devices. But they do have to learn their social skills, and that's where they learn a lot of them at the elementary school, in kindergarten. Among other developmental skills that require frequent redirection, frequent modeling as well. And the adult support for those skills that they are acquiring in kindergarten, 1 to 23, 22, 23, you're not getting that redirection. You're not getting that refocusing.
Sorry, Sarah talked about 1 to 20 in the middle school. And you're talking 1 to 23 in the elementary school?
In kindergarten.
Isn't it
Kindergarten
usually-
is 23?
Isn't it usually the reverse?
There's
You
a
get
lot less,
larger as
there's
you
a
get-
lot less class sizes at the high school too, Jeff.
Well, the high school is a separate case.
Typically, yes, we try to keep it down at KM1. I mean, you can't, the problem is we get this influx of K. We think that we're at a certain class size at K, and then we have this rush of registration at the end of the school, at the end of the summer, and it might blow it up a little bit more than we thought. And we try really to reach out to the community. Hey, if you're gonna be registering for kindergarten, we have that whole campaign in March, and get the families in, get them registered, but.
Well, it's all relevant. We're doing the budget process in November of the prior year.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And we also, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have any empty classrooms. So it gets down to the size that we've built in the classrooms that are left. I think we have 1 in preschool.
So it's a challenge, and I think having those paraprofessionals, that's my dream. If we have one in every classroom, if we could get some of them in every kindergarten, not every classroom, every kindergarten classroom, I want to clarify that. But if we could get at least some of them, that we could even just split, that would be helpful, but ideally, the
But this would-
hands-on,
Adding
direct.
3 would get you one in every other classroom, correct?
Correct.
So one in every classroom for half a day, or however you
Correct.
decided to use them.
Correct.
So this is my 9th year on school committee, and there was a time when there was a paraprofessional in every kindergarten classroom.
Yes.
So I guess I should know the answer to that, but I don't know how it evolved.
I think it was a grant.
to this.
The kindergartens.
Oh, the full-day kindergarten
I think it was a
that-
grant,
Yes.
and we didn't have, I believe,
One of
Joyce,
those grants that disappeared.
yeah,
Yes.
I believe this to be true, but I'm not positive, is that we didn't have full-time kindergarten at the time.
Yes, the
And-
grant was to get you to
Okay.
full-time kindergarten.
So we have it, but we don't have the paras anymore. So there was a point where all the I remember this in the district, all of the paras were relocated that were in kindergarten. And I think at one point, we tried to do like 0.5 in every classroom, but then,
And is it possible that as the special ed population grows and there are students who require a para, could it have evolved to that also?
yes,
Definitely,
yes,
Yes.
yes.
So this comes down to, since this is a budget meeting, this comes down to, if I were to say to you, totally unfairly, but if I were to say to you, okay, 3 paraprofessionals added to your budget, but in return, you're going to have to produce X% more students on grade level. In other words, I want to get something. I want to get something.
It was a linear.
And he wants to see
I want
it.
to get some academic results for the investment of dollars. Is that a bargain that you would sign up for?
If it was linear, yes, but I think too, it would be a projection that you would see down the road. You wouldn't see it necessarily year 1, year 2, year 3 out, but you'd start seeing it more down the road.
Even though each year it's a new group of students.
Yes.
So why is the delayed impact?
Because I think you look at the data, you compare apples to apples, so you want to say that same group, as they grow and they mature through the system, how they're progressing. Because of the changes that we make, we want to follow them along and see how their progress goes.
Because the problem of public education, not Wareham, nationally, is we're investing more and more and more dollars in some states, okay? New York City spends $36,000 per student, New York City, okay? They're getting lousy results, okay? The public says, what's public education doing if I'm spending a fortune and getting lousy results? So if you're trying to convince a finance committee, okay, and frankly, if you're trying to convince me, I won't speak for my colleagues, I'm all for making investments that have a return on investment, okay? And just asking for 3 more because you think it's the standard of not the standard of care, but the standard of teaching, okay? That's fine, but we have our own individual Wareham budget problems. But I would need to have some return on that investment. And if you told me, well, in 3 or 4 years, I think I can get some return, I should be, as an adult, prepared for delayed gratification, but I'm not, okay? I want gratification much sooner than that, because each kindergarten, in fact, is a new group of students.
They are, and you would see progress in their learning on an annual basis. You absolutely would see that. You'd see, obviously, just based on teaching skills and ability, when you redirect, the faster you redirect, the easier the knowledge is acquired. So when you have 1 person versus 2 people in a classroom, they're going to be redirecting children faster. So when you take that support away, there's 1 teacher supporting 23 students running around, there's going to be delays because they're moving objects too, so the teacher's not always going to be necessarily right next to that student when they make that error. So those errors aren't going to be corrected, so that learning isn't going to be fast. It's slows down, it's delayed, it's just natural. And so adding that additional person does provide the opportunity for them to be, and when they need it, when they are developing those skills that are required long-term, to be corrected promptly, to allow them to have more access to the curriculum faster and for longer periods of time. So I think that's what you work with. And then, just on top of that, the average per day cost, if we went to the Plus program, we're looking at about $2.86 per student per day.
It's a cup of coffee.
Yes, but there's a lot of students to multiply that.
We were supposed to say that. It's a lot of cups of coffee.
It's a lot of coffee, I guarantee you.
It's a very
An
lot.
elephant for a
Go ahead,
coffee.
Joyce.
So, on the slide, Dan, it says why we need 3 additional paraprofessionals in our special education program.
Mhm.
But what I've heard you say is maybe not specifically special education, but is it kindergarten specific?
Those 3 positions would be supportive of special education programs kindergarten, at the kindergarten level, and moving forward.
So a subset of the kindergarten.
So I was hoping you would say the whole kindergarten. Not that I don't want our special ed students to get additional support,
So,
but,
we are gonna talk a little bit later in the presentation about
okay,
that, so.
all right.
You good?
If I can help
I
move
guess.
this along.
Thanks.
I mean,
Continue.
yeah, I'll wait, I guess,
Yeah.
for the rest.
So
Yeah.
what happens though is in our preschool, we have a teacher and paras. We identify, we do early identification, and students that require IEPs get put on IEPs, right? And so we're running a special ed preschool program, we have model students, but that's what we're running. Then they go to kindergarten, and we don't put them, unless we have to, because least restrictive environment, into a regular kindergarten classroom. So now, we do have a large population of students on IEPs that are going into our kindergarten classrooms. And yes, there's teacher support, special ed teacher support, but there's not that level of support that we're providing within a preschool.
So that brings up a good question. So like we heard in the middle school where there were inclusion teachers who went into a classroom to support the teacher who had
Yes.
special ed students. Is that true at the elementary school also?
Yes, but not every classroom.
Okay.
And not all day. So they might go in to support whatever the IEPs say for services, they may go in, a special ed teacher may go in to support for 40 minutes of the day. Or they may get removed from a regular education classes for 30 minutes a day. So when you go to Dan's school, you'll see that there's pockets of teachers, special ed teachers working with a certain number of students.
Okay. I understand that any support
Yeah.
given to the classroom teacher is going to help every student in the whole class.
Absolutely.
But okay.
Correct.
You can move on from the
Hold on to
elements.
the salaries. Salaries have pretty much been covered by everybody, they're pretty standard, department head, principals, assistant principals.
That's good.
33. You good with that? Move on to that? You got all those? You're good with that? All right. Move next one. So our expenses, instructions, 5,250. Operation maintenance is 586.5. We got, obviously entails all the, our bills within the building. It's a new building, relatively new building, there's relatively limited maintenance, but we are moving into our 5th year within the building, and there are definitely starting to be some things that are popping up. Our technology is one of them, which we're looking at some boards that have to be replaced, so we're looking at those. So that's definitely an area that will be.
How are utility costs doing?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know that answer.
Right,
Help me out, Kristen?
so far so good. I mean, we're tracking approximately the same. You know, the really telling part will come probably in January, February, when we get the bills for the cooler months. So we've been doing okay. You know, I know we talked a lot about this when the building first opened. It was difficult to, you know, to comprehend how much the electricity was costing. It was far off from what I think the estimates were, and, you know, working with, I know we talked about our HVAC tech and our facilities director, he's gonna come in later, but they've really been able to get a handle on the control of the temperature of the building in the summer, because we are using it year round.
I bet they're paying for themselves.
They are, so they, you know, the building is in use year round with our summer programs. So to keep a comfortable temperature for everyone and to keep an eye on the cost, it takes a little bit, not a little bit, a lot of tweaking between, you know, how hot is too hot versus how expensive is too cold, I guess, so. But, the major part of that $586,000, the budgeted amount for, heat and utilities is about $465,000. So the major part for heat and electric and water and all utilities, so.
It's solar ready, but
Yeah.
if Derek was here, he would tell you solar is his bailiwick.
And I,
Alan knows what I'm talking about. But it's solar ready, I guarantee you.
Oh, I
that.
remember we
Yes,
deliberately
we talked
built it,
about it,
yeah.
yes,
Parking lot and all.
yes.
So, that's pretty much where we leave it, so we go to our summary of expenses summary. So salaries, obviously, is, our staff are pertinent to our building, they are what make Wareham Elementary School. They are a great group of individuals who have nothing but best interest and look out for the growth and development of all our students within our community. They are tasked, it is a large task for them, within our community of such a large number of students, and they do an awesome job. I'm proud to be standing with them and proud to work with them each and every day. And in the spirit of the season of giving, we would truly appreciate your support, and wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay. So I'm getting some sign language.
Signal,
I
2
said
cents.
we should take a 5-minute break and then we're gonna take this baby home to the end, okay?
Yeah.
That was that.
Okay,
That's
we will,
right.
we will have
She
a
wants us
5-minute
done by
recess.
12:10, so,
12:30.
right, because everybody's gonna get hangry.
And what about math?
We don't want the FinCom angry.
Thank you, Dan, great job, great job.
Okay, we are back from recess, and we will move to beyond school time.
Beyond school time, thank you, welcome everybody, I'm welcoming myself actually. It's still morning, I am the director of Beyond School Time, during school time, and the director of acronyms, I feel. I'm 3 weeks into this position, and I'm very, very excited to be here with you. And I have good news to share, the next 2 slides have little to nothing to do with the LEA budget. So it's very much about grant funding and other ways and creative ways to fund the program, which I'm about to share with you. Here, I just wanted to give you some numbers of what my department has come up with for what we do for CARE. So CARE, of course, is our summer programming and our after-school programming. During the summer of 2025, Wareham Elementary School hosted 112 students, and the middle school hosted 32 students for summer programming for the 5-week session. And now in after-school programming for fall, Wareham Elementary School has an enrollment of 50 students, and Wareham Middle School has 25 students. That enrollment is down in the fall session due to lack of transportation. We were not able to accrue the funds. But luckily, Ms. Fonduos and I have written a new grant. It's an after-school programming, in addition, that is going to be able to fund transportation for the spring session of CARE. Are there any questions in regards to those numbers?
I just have a question about the transportation, I did not know that.
Yes, the funding was reduced so much so that transportation was cut out of the grant. But luckily, we have found another grant, of which I'll show it to you, for $10,000 for the spring session to be able to have transportation back in. So they'll pick up the Wareham Middle School students and then go to the Wareham Elementary School. So that's the good news.
Was that just based on our numbers or just?
Just based on the state's availability to fund the programs.
Okay.
So you know I'd like that 112 to be twice that number.
Yes, it is twice the number from the year before. I did look it up, Mr. Sweat, it was 49 students in 24 to 25. So we've more than doubled that, and you're right. I would like to take the 15% that are there from the total enrollment and make it 30%. So we're gonna work on that. As you know, we took the Boost summer programming and we had divided it into more sessions. So we were able to have many more students be a part of Boost, and we will continue with that model of Boost for this summer session, pending funding. I'm gonna go now to the PASS enrollment. So PASS is our night school program. Wareham Public Schools, we're very fortunate to have a night school program. Our surrounding areas do not have night school programming. Therefore, we work to achieve to get school choice students into our night program. It is a fully accredited program where students do receive a diploma once they have fulfilled their credits. Currently, we have 40 students enrolled, 8 of which are school choice from other districts. Is there any questions in regard to the PASS program? As you know, we just opened the McDuffie Educational Center, so now our PASS students have their own school to attend to, and they can put their stamp on their own school. So it's very, very exciting, and I'd like to thank the town of Wareham, Superintendent of Schools, School Committee, for funding this endeavor and reopening this school.
Funding as in the capital improvements.
Capital improvement.
But not the operating costs.
That's correct. The operating cost comes solely from school choice money. It comes from, so that's out of town classes, so we charge $300 per course. So there are students who come from our own town and outside of town. Outside of town students, we charge $300 per course. Wareham students, we charge $160 a course. So if they have failed a course, we do offer that course in the evening. We also do charge a $50 registration fee, $5 for transcripts. So those revolving accounts keep our funding going, along with school choice.
And on that note, I would say also, I think the capital improvements to the building were not funded out of the budget. They were funded by the town.
Yes.
Yes. And the cooperative school is housed at the Wareham High School right now. These numbers indicate that these students are partially involved in the cooperative program. They do take classes within the Wareham High School regular education setting and special education setting as well. But these students do enter into cooperative coursework in each of the grades.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
So, they're not in a classroom together at the high school. Is there like a meeting point for them and then they go out and take classes in the high school, or?
Right now, each of those students are enrolled into their own schedule, and they go into 1 to 2 classes within the cooperative setting. Other than that, they are going into the regular education setting. So I do not have currently a full-time cooperative student.
Okay, because on the high school org chart, there was a co-op teacher.
Correct.
So that person, what does that person do for these students?
So that person teaches coursework for these students in math and in English,
Oh,
social
okay.
studies or science.
So, go ahead.
Last question. So is that teacher part of the high school budget, or is that paid
Yes.
from your grant?
High school budget.
Yes.
Okay.
And hired by Mr. Palladino.
Oh, okay.
So if we take those 6, 5, 11, 12, 14 students, are they counted when Mr. Palladino showed us his total population? Are those 14 in Mr. Palladino's numbers?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Go to the next slide. These are currently the grants that we have under Beyond School Time for Wareham Public Schools. These are all of the grants, which I'm responsible for. I just wanted to go briefly through them with you. So the first two grants are our CARE grants, that's 21st Century grants, that's out of the Department of Education, but federally funded. So the Department of Education relies on monies from the federal government to support these two initiatives, and this is our after-school programming and our summer programming.
So that's, you're making an important distinction. You're saying the money comes from the Department of Education in DC, but it's given to DESE, and then DESE distributes it.
Correct.
When you talk about these grants, could you clarify that kind of thing?
I will do the best I can. But
And they're competitive, so
They are competitive.
we're not guaranteed them, right? Like, so Title I funds were guaranteed, Title I funds. All of these grants are competitive grants that other districts don't necessarily get. We get by writing extensively, and Dr. Chandler,
And I
has to.
continue to write.
Yes.
And just to briefly give you the purpose, it's federally funded targeted enhancement grant for 21st Century Community Learning Centers. Program grantees is to support the department's vision of deeper learning. Okay, so that's where it comes from. The after-school program right there, the ASOST, after-school programming, this is where our transportation is going to come from. So this grant, the AOST, is in conjunction with 21st Century a bit, they all overlap. And we just received this grant, just received it for $20,500.
So when you don't get one of these grants,
We don't have programming.
literally, that's,
Literally.
it's not like you go to Kristen and say, could you find me $20,500 out of the LEA budget?
Well, we'll
Correct.
try.
Right.
You may try, but
Right.
you cannot count on that.
No, and thanks to Ms. Fondulis's vast knowledge, she was, the director before me, she knew to apply to this grant. She said, I know where we can find the funding for transportation. And so we put that together, and luckily we did receive it.
And Jeff, just to that avail, we don't have a high school program after school anymore because it wasn't funded through the grant. The middle school and the elementary school were funded.
And some of that had to spill over into the budget this past summer because of reduction in grant funding. And so a small portion of that salary increase is absorbing to keep those summer programs going that were formerly covered by grants.
So it's
There is
important
a
to
small-
distinguish, and now I'm speaking more to the finance committee than anybody else. There are things that are legislatively mandated that come to us from Washington DC. So even if, I say this with perhaps too much confidence, but I'll say it anyway. So even if the Department of Education was disbanded, the legislation would still exist and the money would still flow, as compared to a grant which is competitive and we cannot count on that necessarily from year to year. I think I said that correctly.
Okay, can I just, but with that said, would it be true to say that we've heard about there being reductions in funding from Washington, and people say, well, have you seen that? Is that?
We've seen it a bit, but I'm hopeful that a lot of this federal money is just being brought back down into the state and local.
But I mean, you're telling us that we've cut a program from the high school because the grant funding has been reduced, right? So, okay.
And the state is warning us.
Right.
I mean,
And this is more complicated than I made it seem because we have, for the first time, an administration that decides that even if it has been appropriated, they will not spend it, okay? That may or may not be legal, and I'm being honest. That will have to be decided by the Supreme Court. And then there's another way of not spending money, which is to appropriate it and then come back and say, we don't want to spend it, and that's called a rescission. And Congress can approve and has approved some rescissions. So every dollar that comes out of Washington DC now cannot be assumed to be available to us in the future. Excuse me?
town budget as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And the next grant is called MyCap, and MyCap is part of DESE. It's also, and where it is the Department of Office of College, Career, and Technical Education. So this part of DESE is really looking at career exploration. And the PASS program has this grant for $7,000. Ms. Cote and I just went into a workshop. And we are working through MIFA, which is the Massachusetts Educational Finance Authority, who's created a beautiful curriculum, a lot of thick and rich resources for our students. So we are going to use this money to further develop our curriculum and our paths per grade, beginning in which grade? Ms. Cote?
It should start in sixth grade, so we need to
Which
do
I
it
have to.
district-wide. It just hasn't been dictated that it needs to stop, but we're on top of it.
But each grade has their own curriculum guide, and it's really, we did a lot of exploration with it and the site, and it's very, very beautifully built with ways and means that a student, beginning in middle school, through high school, and through the PASS program, can begin making decisions about what they'd like to see for their future and their lifestyle. Okay, HQPBL is an offset of the Century 21 Care Grant. This is an additional grant that our office received to create to have professional development with our staff on creating project-based learning opportunities. I have a workshop this afternoon from 3:30 to 5 o'clock with 4 other teachers in which we are gaining professional development on building high-quality project-based learning units. And then we'll have access to these units, of which we can use during the school day and in after-school programming. It's also done through DESE. And we're very excited about it. We're going away, so it's a very intense year-long project. The next is our CPPI. You can see that's a very high figure. We are very fortunate in Wareham to have received this grant. This is through the Department of Education, Early Childhood, and the EEC to provide support, resources for not only our own preschool, but the surrounding child care facilities in our town to ensure that students are ready. Kindergarten readiness is a big, big goal of, you'll hear this, I have a couple of other grants. Early childhood awareness and outreach is a big, big driver right now in DESE, and they're putting a lot of money towards this. So this grant right here has helped to fund our preschool at the high school.
Just for clarity.
Yes.
This says 25-26, but everything we've been talking about this morning is 26-27. So
Yes.
is this a
This
list
is-
of the things that
This
you've
is
received?
the here and now.
This is the here and now.
This is the
Do you
here
have
and
any
now.
predictions for 26-27?
I'm hopefully confident that
Hopefully,
confident, hopeful. I predict that we will continue with CARE. I predict we will continue with the CPPI. I predict we will continue with playful learning. HQPBL is a training that's happening this year. We are in the cohort 6. We're not going to be in cohort 7 next year, so that will be dropped. We will continue to get CFCE funding. And is there anything else there?
how about the top 2?
Yes, I'm fairly confident we will continue with our
So
care.
the vast majority of this, you expect to be
continue
available
on.
for next year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So you can see CPPI is a very big grant under my department, along with also the preschool department during the school day. I know my title says beyond school time, but I work during the school day too. Okay, the next is playful learning, another very large grant, also from the early childhood department in Massachusetts, working with Donna Trangham. She was at Wareham Elementary School yesterday. She's very invested into playful learning. The workshops are fantastic. The idea behind it is to bring back thoughtful and rigorous play into early learning from preschool through the age of 8, with units of exploration, creativity, ideas around that. Children are writing, they read within these centers, and it's all PD as well.
But you said 8, correct?
Up to 8 years old.
Oh, thank you.
8, yeah, preschool to 8-year-olds, so preschool through grade 3.
Got it.
Playful learning is happening, we have a coach for it who comes in, his name's Dan, he comes in monthly to work with our teachers, he does observations in the classrooms, gives us feedback.
Lots of great PD
And
for the staff involved.
It's really, really a thoughtful program done by the Department of Ed, and again, they're highly invested into this, and it's early childhood learning. Again, during the school day. Okay, where am I at? Look at my slide. Internship grant, okay, this is also part of CARE, this is for the high school students. This gives the high school students an opportunity, they apply, and then they are hired to become interns in the after-school program. So we're very excited about that. You can see that that's $60,000. We do pay our high school students to work in this after-school program. And finally, CFCE. CFCE's been going on for a long time. This is the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement. Under this grant for CFCE, through the EEC, which is the Early Education Center and Care, we work through play groups. So from children from 0 to 8 years old is what this grant is under. We have partnered with the Buzzards Bay Coalition. We just had a play group with 24 children from our town going to the Onset Bay at 10 o'clock today. Not yet, Wareham Public School students. These are children that are younger in age. Under that, we also have our grandparents group, so we're supporting the adults as well. So this is a big umbrella of just opportunities within our community to provide support for young children and their families. Any questions in regards to any of these competitive grants that our town has? You can see our town, we work really hard as a school department, not just to rely on LEA, but to provide opportunities outside to look for grants. Of course, once we have these grants and we have to work with these grants with fidelity. So we have to do as the grant has told us to do. So it's not about, we can't, supplant and necessarily hire staff for it, but what we can do is provide a lot more opportunities for our children.
And these are basically all coming from the state, although some of the money the state is getting from the feds.
Correct.
Okay.
Through the Department of Education and EEC, which is the Early Childhood Education and Care Center. Any other questions you have for me?
Thank you.
Is there a way that you look for more grants?
Yes, so you just, lots of times what you do is you go on, they have opportunities. I just was on the EEC this morning and looking to see what other grants, like I know that there's a 3C, so I'm looking into that. Absolutely, so every opportunity we can, we look out for grants. And fortunately, like especially the CFCE and our connections with DESE, they provide us those ideas. They say, hey, this grant's coming out. So within these, I have a lot of meetings to go to. And within those meetings, we've created a lot of, collaboration. We speak to each other and they will advertise the grants as they become available.
Great.
Roger, thank you.
Okay,
All right, thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay, so,
Hey, Matt, Eric is outside, do you mind if you just switch Eric with Melissa's, is that okay with everyone? Or just invite Eric and just come inside while we do Melissa's?
what is Eric doing?
Eric, right now?
He was putting something
Do
together
we
in
have a
another room.
facility slide?
We, do we?
Oh, he's just gonna give an overview.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Okay.
Do you mind if we just do that?
I don't mind at all.
Alright, wonderful, thank you.
I've been told
We
that we
got
have
it.
to be done by 12:30 by
You have
someone.
been with me, and I know that, here he comes. Thank you, Eric, thank you.
So what does that all mean in terms of next?
Eric's gonna give a facilities update. So come on in. So Eric Trey, I mean, he's here every year doing this, so.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
I'll be quick.
That's right.
I'll be quick. So, I'm Eric Train, the Director of Facilities here for the schools. Just a little background about the facilities and Fields and Grounds, the amount of employees we have. So Fields and Grounds has 2 employees. The Facilities Department has 3, 1 including myself. Robbie Landerholm is our HVAC tech that we have in-house, and Mike Linehan is our district plumber. His salary is half paid by the schools, the other half by the town, so he works for both departments. Not only are they just the plumber and HVAC, they help with a lot of work outside their scope of work. For the McDuffie building, they helped me reinforce all the decking, replace all the stairs, so it's really good to have. We run cables for IT, they're my jack of all trades, common sense workers here, so it's really nice to have them. Recently completed projects that happened over the summer and continued into the school year. The middle school here just had its fire alarm panel replaced and all its devices, the whole system was replaced. So fire alarm panel, 250 devices like smoke detectors, duct smoke detectors, manual pull stations. The existing one at the time was obsolete. We couldn't find any replacements for it anymore, so it was time to switch it out. The cost of that was $125,000, give or take. The next was the high school preschool classroom, which I'm sure someone has mentioned already at this point, right?
Yes.
So the idea with that was to find a room that had a big enough storage area to convert that storage area into a bathroom, and just find a good location within that school. So that's what we did. Install.
In 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, Scott Palladino was a big help finding a GC to speed up that process after it kind of blew up a little bit. But again, having Mike as our plumber, he did all the plumbing work for us. We just had to pay for materials, so it really helps having them here too. We don't pay markup prices on any materials because we just get it directly from all vendors. So, converted the storage area into a bathroom, installed an exterior door for drop-offs, and then installed a litof outside play area, which we did ourselves, which is huge. Again, thanks to Scott for his role in finding a GC to kind of speed that up. The high school received a new rooftop unit. Little background on that. That's been in the process since I first started about almost 4 years ago. So we finally got it done. Kristen led the way on getting the IVAC grant, which helped fund the overall price of $330,000. And next up is I'm sure someone mentioned this too, the McDuffie Education Center is now up and running. A little back and forth with the town inspectors, but we're good. Everyone's in there, all corrections are made, emergency lighting, the decks are repaired, all handrails for ADA compliance are all installed. So there's just a couple more IT items left that need to be purchased, and gathering quotes for additional floor work that needs to be done in the basement, and potentially a new roof.
But it looks beautiful.
Yeah, looks great. Existing projects is Kristen and I will be working with the gateman to replace all the field lighting on Spillane Field. I think they were granted funding through the CPBI.
CPC.
Whatever.
CPBI.
Yeah, I don't deal with that. I just help them with procuring all of it. They don't deal with public procurement, so Kristen's heavily involved with it, and so am I, just to get them on track. They have a hard deadline of April 1st, and I think we'll get there as long as the price is underneath what we're allotted for it. I know Kristen just submitted the contract with the engineering firm, so we should get going as soon as we can.
Just to be clear, this is off the top of my head, but the Gatemen were contributing $100,000.
Correct.
And we were contributing $600,000?
$600,000. Yep.
Okay.
When you say we, CPC.
CPC,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
CPC. So if it comes in 50,000 more, the 50,000 is gonna come from the Gateman, is that a fair statement?
Over the 700,000?
Yes.
Well, that's a big hiccup that we have to run into, so we can't do.
How conservative were those numbers, I guess is another way of saying this.
So I
Yeah.
think that before it got to town meeting and before it came to us, the Gateman had done some significant work with talking with prospective contractors, and they had a cost estimate.
So you're
I
not
think-
particularly concerned about overrun?
Right, so I think that that's where the dollar value ask came from. So right now, we just had a meeting with the engineering firm, and so they're gonna start their work. And part of their, I think it's not one of the first things, but pretty quickly, they will have a cost estimate for the project.
Yeah.
And they gave us some rough figures. They talk about a per pole figure. I think, what was it?
80,000?
Yes, 80,000 per pole. So, and then there's some additional cost for any subcontractor. So
Correct.
once
How many
we
poles
have.
are there?
There's
I believe.
I think, is it 6 or 8? 8, is it?
Eight existing, one might
So
stay
it's,
because it is metal.
So that sounds like, okay,
So I think once we do get that cost estimate, then that'll inform us whether or not we are within the 700,000 or outside of it. And so at that point, I would say a decision would have to be made, because we've been appropriated 600,000, they have 100,000.
Right.
And then you go out to bid. So, and what we've seen in all of our projects, this one may be different because it's,
You've been under
outdoor
budget a
lighting.
lot.
Yeah.
The cost estimates have typically been higher than what the bids come in. And that's not, just for Wareham, we've seen that in other, my friends in other school districts have seen that too.
okay, good.
And to her point too, we're also trying to do construction during the winter season, so it might be more competitive to get.
Yeah,
people out,
exactly.
Because they're not
Right,
really
right,
working,
that was
right,
one thing
so.
that they brought up, that this might be a good, we've got a small window of opportunity to do this work
Correct.
before our baseball season starts, and then the Gateman,
Yep.
and then we swing to football, so we're really,
Yeah.
we really kind of got it
Tight.
right in there.
We'll let the gateman deal with all that. Future projects, I know I've talked about this before in the past, but other things just kind of get pushed as priority. But I would like to enter another MSBA ARP program for the doors and windows at the high school. They definitely need it. There's a little more investigative work I need to do on my end to see which doors have been replaced, which ones hasn't. But even just getting the windows replaced there through a program like that has a good reimbursement rate would be great to do.
Is it still about 75%?
I don't think that figure kind of stays, but we were around
Yeah,
there,
I think it would
72,
be,
75.
in that area.
It seems around that. The high school as well, so maybe last year, we had their fire alarm system replaced as well. But they're also showing ground faults, meaning that the wires are corroded. So the system's still operational and it is fine to run, but it is something that needs to be remediated. So just reach out to a company that's going to come and see which wires throughout the building are in fact showing those faults in the system, to try to bring the scope of work down and cost, and then aim for next summer to get that all done. There's still money left over in the article for that, so, yeah, we should be in the clear, but I don't know the exact numbers or cost estimate of that. I know the superintendent and I looked at the high school as well, looking to redo the front entrance. That kind of got put on the back burner because the lowest estimate that we got was $1.3 million to do, so, yeah. So that just kind of got pushed on the back, but it is something that we need over there. It is a security issue, the way that the school's designed right now. You can't really see anyone coming in. All the other schools have what they call a man-trap area, an exterior door where you walk into the building, where public can walk in, but they're still locked out, if you will. You can't get inside the building. High school doesn't have that luxury, so something that we need to look at.
Can I just ask a question about that? I think that's really important. I know you would agree with me that that's really
Yeah.
an important upgrade that needs to be done at the high school. Is that not something that would ever be acceptable from MSBA? Would they ever reimburse for that?
No, so from what I understand from the MSBA, and I'll ask Kristen to, if I get this wrong, they have core projects which are new construction, and then they have the ARP, which is just boilers, doors, windows, and roofs. Thank you, yeah, the roofs here at the middle school. So I don't know if they have a separate for security. I could look into it, but
So it
those are the only two
doesn't come
programs.
under doors and windows, like,
No, so the way the way that it costs so much is because the way that the school's designed right now and what we would have to do kind of requires a lot of work. It's not
Right.
just put another set of doors up, it's actually kind of reconfiguring that whole side. Well, they call it the front, but it's essentially, it looks like the side of the building.
right.
To make it actually work. So that the front office, the classrooms, they all need to be reconfigured, so that's what's driving the price up. But, and then last but not least,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? I don't believe that request has ever gone through capital planning yet.
No, not
So I
yet.
would suggest
Well-
you send a note to us.
Informally it has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did, Alan, we did speak of it last year. I mean, just, we wanted to give you guys a heads up that,
Yeah, but I don't think we put it on to any date.
no,
Nothing
we
written.
did.
So I would appreciate, since I chair that committee, to
Okay.
get it updated.
I'll mark no. The last thing, it says find Jeff Sweat a location for pickleball courts. But that's it, that's all I have. So, any questions or anything, feel free.
Thank you.
Am I under 2
Thank
minutes?
you.
Yes, good job.
Is that what they're building out there?
Yeah. No, that's a landing zone.
It's a helipad.
Can't call it that.
Post.
Designated landing area.
Oh, is that what it's called?
If you call it a
Oh, I
helipad,
forgot
it's
that.
FAA guidelines and
Oh,
requirements.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've hit most of the cost centers. I think we just have transportation left. There's a couple of more slides I want to hit on just to give some more information. English language learners, you've heard a little bit about them. This will give you some more detail. We have 37 at this time that are English language learners. A student who is considered an English language learner is put on a continuum of where they are with their English language. If you're at level 1, that means you basically have no English. So a student coming in that doesn't speak English at all, maybe only speaks Portuguese, would be a level 1 ELL. And then they go through where the top level is a 6. If the student is on level 6, they're basically fluent in English. 24 of our ELL students are levels 1 and 2 of those 37.
Just for clarification, if someone's a 6, is that speaking, is that writing, is that reading, what is that?
I think it's a combination of the two.
All three?
Yeah.
I said 3 things.
I know you did.
Okay.
I know you did.
Which 2 is it a combination?
I believe it's speaking, writing, and reading.
Okay.
Yes. FEL students are formally English learners. So once you get it into 6, and you're graduated out and you're considered fluent, but they still keep them on the radar. And as we talked about earlier, they still qualify as a high-need student because they were formerly EL. We have 1 EL teacher, there's the salary, and then $4,000 expenses. So that's a general overview of our ELL program at this time. Okay, transportation. We have 1 coordinator and 1.5 administrative assistants, 32 drivers, that includes substitute drivers, and 11 monitors, that includes substitute monitors, salary of $1.4 million for all of those workers. Then we have contracted for special education. When we have students that need to attend a school outside of one of our schools in a day program, we are responsible for transporting that student. So that's what that money is used for. And then also when we have homeless students or students that are in foster care, we are responsible for part of that transportation, so that's that $120,000. And then the $323,000 are for all the, DOT physicals and maintenance and fuel and things like that. So to run our buses, our transportation is a little over $3 million a year.
So where does is that 120 net of McKinney-Vento, or is McKinney-Vento an offset?
It's an offset, so that's the full amount, and then you'll see later that we take about $100,000 from the transportation revolving, which the major revenue to that is the McKinney-Vento reimbursement.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Okay, so these are each of the cost centers and a comparison of the FY26 where we currently are, the budget that we're currently in, and the proposed FY27, which is that level service plus that we just went over. And you can see how much each cost center has increased. We have a later slide that's going to go into a little bit more detail on what are the primary drivers of these increases. So we'll get to that slide. And spoiler alert, it's mostly salaries.
Matt, sorry, Joe, can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Did we skip over special education?
Not yet. Well, we did special education earlier.
Oh,
And-
I
and-
just assumed that Melissa was coming in.
But she's not able to be in today.
Oh, okay.
But there is also a slide about out of district. If you're
Okay,
looking for that too. Okay. Offsets, but do you want to?
Sure. So the slide that you saw previously, that's the total cost of everything exclusive of what Bethany Chandler discussed today to run the district, to take it from where we're here now to keeping that level of service next year, plus those few positions that we talked about. So that would include any increases, as we saw in salaries, contract services. So that's the total cost.
So
But
this is level service plus.
Plus, correct. So what our proposed budget that we will be presenting to the town is a lower number, because here in Wareham, we use other revenue sources to offset some of those costs, okay? So that's what this slide talks about. So we take our total budget, and then we know that this year we're receiving $2,178,440 in circuit breaker revenue. Now I know many of you know what that is, some of you may not, so I'm just gonna quickly explain. So what circuit breaker is reimbursement from the state for high-cost special education students, services to students. So it could include reimbursement for tuition, for related services, it includes transportation. So every year, school departments have to provide data to the state on a claim form of their students. And as long as they reach the foundation amount, which is around $50,000, which most special education students do have that cost, the ones that are out of district. The inclusion students here probably wouldn't, but many of our more costly placements will. So then the state comes in and reimburses you a portion after 50,000. So typically it's about 70,000 to 70% to 75%. That the additional amount over that foundation, and it changes every year, the state dictates that, then they'll reimburse to schools for that previous year. So for here, this $2,178,000, that was a claim that was filed by the special education department this past year based on last year's student cost. So we know that this year we're going to get on a quarterly basis a total of $2.1 million. So some school districts.
Just to be clear, these are expenses incurred last budget.
Last budget.
We're receiving them this year.
Yes.
And we're going to use them to support next year.
Correct, so it
Everybody
gets.
got that?
I
Clear as
still,
mud.
you know, 20 years plus, I still have to like, sort of do your same thing, with that.
Well,
So-
here's the key thing, that's actually a good thing. Because there were years in this town where that money would have been used for next year, and that would have been money that had been created this year.
Correct.
So we're actually a year ahead, so we're in better fiscal shape than we used to be.
Right, it allows us to know this now for the budget, so that we
Bingo.
can budget for it for next year, so that we're not sort of flying blind and crossing our fingers. You know, when, several years ago, we were not carrying over the full amount, and so, you know, we've worked, the Student Services Department has done a great job at really, making sure every claim is, every cost is claimed. And then, you know, just knowing how much that is, it's helped us with the budget process. So, for example, last year, you're gonna see the different offsets with circuit breaker. Unfortunately, this amount, fortunately but unfortunately, is grown, so it's higher, but because of what Jeff said, it's because our costs have also increased. So, you get a higher cost, you get a higher reimbursement. So, it's just a matter of you know, knowing how to use it in the best way possible. And fortunately, we're in a good spot now that we're carrying over the full amount. You know, that could change from year to year if you get some placements that you weren't anticipating. Title I grant, so that's a portion, it's a major portion of the Title I grant. That's, as Tracy mentioned, an entitlement grant. It's a federally funded entitlement grant, meaning we're going to get it. We don't have to apply for it and sort of put our best foot forward, as long as we meet the criteria, of which there are a lot of criteria, and the application is very, you know, it's a big application, it's very time consuming. So we actually receive more than that, but that's the amount that we're using to offset the budget. And by that, I mean, it's offsetting salaries. So there's salaries at the elementary school that grant is offsetting. So you'll see that. Similarly, the IDEA grant, that's the special education grant, there's two. The big one, in years past, some people might remember it as 94-142 or the 240 grant. That's a major one, and then there's also a smaller one that supports just early childhood special education. So we're using $482,081 from the special education IDEA grant. Now keep in mind, the Title I, the grants here, the Title I, the IDEA grant, that is my prediction of what we will get for next year and be able to use. So that's similarly just taking what we have, following the formula of what we charge to the grant this year, and saying, you know, as long as everything stays in place, that's what it's going to be next year. In other words, we might charge a 1.0 salary for one person FTE. There's other salaries that are a 0.3, so that's how I determined that amount. But that amount, you know, may change if we get a little bit more in Title I or a little bit less. So that's just like everything else, a prediction. So the IDEA grant, that is primarily funding out-of-district tuitions. There's a small part that funds a nurse point person salary, very small, and also a portion of a OTA, occupational therapy assistant. So that's what the IDEA grant is coming in to help us out with. School nutrition, we talked about that a little bit. The school nutrition services, none of the costs associated with the school nutrition program, except for the employee insurance, are in the local budget. It's a self-operating program. The reason why the insurance is in the budget is because of the USDA and federal grant regulations that say if you charge health insurance from a grant-funded employee, from one grant, you have to do it for all of the grants. So if we were to have school nutrition fund pay for the health insurance for all of the school nutrition employees, of which it pays for their salaries, then we would have to say anyone who is covered by any other federal grant, and we saw there's a bunch in Title I, we would have to pay for the health insurance for those grants. So what you do for one, you have to do for all, and it just would not be possible. So since school nutrition cannot pay for that, you know, as Matt said, years before we came here, there was an agreement that the school budget would pay for the food service employees. But this $110,000 is an indirect cost that we take from the school nutrition program, which is allowed by the school nutrition funds. So it says you can take some costs that, you know, schools expend, such as utilities, and that's what we do, and take a portion of the school nutrition funds and help it offset the local budget. So that $110,000 is being portioned out to each school's utility bills on a monthly basis. Mike Russo, our director, does a good job every month. He just sent it to me, as a matter of fact, yesterday, to say, here's the indirect costs for October, you know, please do that. So that's that amount. Preschool revolving, we charge tuition for our preschool students, for our model students. It's $400 a month, $4,000 a year. So that tuition goes to support the salary of one preschool teacher. Transportation revolving, we are able to, every year, when we pay for students that are the McKinney-Vento, the homeless student transportation, every year through the end-of-year process, there's a claim, and the state will reimburse districts for any of their homeless transportation costs, and that goes right into our transportation revolving fund. And in that fund, we also take in money from other districts who we help support their students. Since we are fortunate to have our fleet of buses, we do help out other districts. I think right now we are helping, we've got some Falmouth students, I think a Mashpee student, and maybe a Bourne student. Over the past couple of years, we've had a Dennis Yarmouth student on some of our buses that go to the collaboratives, and we charge them a very small amount. So it works out for both districts. It helps us offset a route that we're already running, and it provides them the opportunity to get their student on a bus at a much lower cost. Because we're seeing in transportation, out of district transportation on vans, some of them are upwards of $400 per bus per day. So that, you know, when you multiply that by 180 plus days, that's a lot of money, and that's sometimes for just one student. So that's helping us with our transportation funds. And then also, as we mentioned before, we're sharing a plumber with the town, so that's the amount that's coming in to offset the plumber's salary. So all told, you can see that we started with the budget of $41.8 million. We have all of those offsets that I've just gone over. And so the budget, FY27 budget after offsets is $38,244,686. So that is the dollar figure right now that we will be asking that we'll be presenting at the school committee meeting, and that is our preliminary budget figure at this point in time.
So.
One second, Roger.
I just have a quick one.
Yes.
Do we need to know what the town budget is and how likely they are to approve of this school budget?
Yes, so typically we'll be meeting with, we meet with Derek, and I usually do that with one of the budget subcommittee members, who is gonna be Jeff Sweat this year, and we go over and we talk to Derek about, you know, where the town is, what we're looking for, and then, you know, we'll go through the process of trying to figure out if how much of this can be, if all of it can be funded some way, somehow.
Okay, say that they say no. Then what?
We have to work with what we're given.
Okay.
So this, you know, this level service plus budget is $2,155,185 increase. Now, I wanted to talk about what makes up this increase. 1.6 million of that is salary increases. Teacher contract, para contract, bus driver contract, all of those contracts, and also, of course, administrative staff salary increases are the majority. The replacing of aging staff technology, this is replacement of, all our teachers receive laptops. We're trying to transition some of them to Chromebooks, which are less expensive. So we're looking at this. Right now, we have this number in, and that would be really the maximum. We're looking to hopefully reduce that number, and we're looking at options to do that. But right now, that's what that increase would be. And then right down the line, you can see out-of-district tuition, the increases on that. And as Mr. Sweat said, that's really determined by the state, the tuition levels. Transportation can be very challenging, and they often increase. So we're looking at about $120,000 there. Curriculum increases, and then write down some smaller ones to show that total increase of $2,301 and 19. How come that's more than that?
Before offset.
Oh, that's before offsets, thank you. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, so I wanted to just hit on tuitions. We did talk about this prior. These are the numbers that were presented before, but this is a huge challenge that we have. This is 35 students. Now, clearly, we have the two that go to Bristol Aggie, and that's really unavoidable. And I would say these other are unavoidable too, but I want you to know that we do everything we can to keep these students in district as much as we can. We have separate programs that we provide some pretty intense services for our students, and we don't put them out unless it's absolutely necessary. Unfortunately, for these students, it is absolutely necessary, and it can be extraordinarily expensive. And you can see $4.2 million total for these 35 students.
The biggest problem with this is literally, the next day, you can have a student show up that costs you $200,000.
That's average.
And it happens. So you could also have the opposite. The student leaves, but it's a very volatile budget.
Since the development of this budget, both of those things have happened. So we've had a student move in from a neighboring community that came with, I believe, a collaborative placement. If it's a private placement, there's the move-in law, so you have some relief, depending on when the student moves in. But, so we had a student move in that has a collaborative placement, so that's not just, okay, so that's this year, we have to figure out. And we've already, that student is not figured into this for next year, so we already know we've got some work to do on that. And it's not just tuition, it's their transportation too, which can be anywhere from, I don't know, $60,000 to $100,000. So it's, it is very challenging.
Good news about
It's very
transportation,
challenging.
it didn't used to be calculated in circuit breaker. Then they added transportation, thank
That's
goodness.
really boosted up our claim,
But-
thankfully.
But every year, the percentage that circuit breaker represents can fluctuate depending on the legislature. So it's a massive challenge. Sorry, go ahead.
No, don't be sorry. Okay, just a couple other pieces of information I want to give you. So this is, Kristen kind of hit on this already, but these are the changes in those budget revenues for next year, the circuit breaker going up and the preschool revolving and some of them going down. All said and done, it's an increase of $145,000, so that's, to the good, and that's helpful. We've had years in the past where the revenue increases have caused a loss, so that is helpful.
And you can see if not for circuit breaker, we would have had a drop in revenue, if not for that increase in circuit breaker.
And so the bottom line is, as we said, we're asking for a 2.1 million increase or 5.97. And I want to, first of all, I want to point, the town, my, years here, the town has been so extraordinarily supportive of the schools. As we heard, that we're referred to tonight, or today, I should say, is we have a brand new roof on this building, which I think we went to the town and asked for $8 million, and it was supported, not just by FinCom, not just by Select Board, but by the voters. I think it was a unanimous vote, maybe one no. But it was, the town is really supportive, and it actually came in at $4 million, I think, when it was all said and done, so that was good. We got new boilers at the high school, the McDuffie, that was supported last year to do all the upgrades to that building. As Alan Slavin mentioned, the buses, every year in the capital plan, we're getting 2 or 3 new buses. So we're able to cycle out the older buses that have many miles on them. And the fire alarm systems in both this building and the high school, and previous year's school budget. So I know this is a big ask. It is a big ask, and I appreciate everything that the town has done for us in the past. I wanted to just point out, I said that this is a level service plus budget. I wanted to show you what a level service gold budget would be. And this would be, as Mr. Sweat had asked before, what if money were no object? And this is what I think if we really want to be able to address the needs of our students and money were no object, these are the additions that we would make. We really should increase our ELL. We have one teacher, another half teacher would help us to meet the support that those students need. Another social worker at the elementary school. If we had some interventionists, we used to have 2 interventionists at the elementary school. Those interventionists could specifically target students that are falling behind and give them the support they need academically. The paraprofessionals, 8 of them for the kindergarten, we had that conversation. The interventionists that Sarah Russo talked about at the middle school here. And we actually need a little bit more administrative assistant support here. So, if money were no object, we would add these 14 positions and it would be an additional $709,000. We're not asking for that. That would be great if we could have it. We're not asking for that. We're asking for that level service plus budget, because I really feel that's what we need at a bare minimum. Then we have some, as usually, there's always some possibilities and uncertainties, and Kristen put this slide together, so I'm going to ask Kristen to speak to it a little bit.
Okay. So you heard Dr. Chandler talk about the CPPI grant that funds some preschool programs. With that grant, this is I think the 2nd year we've had it, it is supporting portions, some full salaries and portions of salaries. So what we don't know, because this is a very new grant, is whether or not we will receive that grant next year. What we do know is that we want to keep the staff and the programs in place. So all that salary that is right now supported by the CPPI grant, and it's about $159,000. If we get that grant next year, and I know Dr. Chandler thinks it's a good possibility, and she's working on trying to, nail that down. It's still very early in the budget process to know that. But so that could help us and bring in another $159,000. So that's, stay tuned for that. Another thing that we did last year is because we had some savings in the budget, last year's budget, and some relief with some tuitions, out of district tuitions. The law allows you, municipal law allows schools to prepay out-of-district tuitions. Collaborative tuition up to 1 year, private tuitions 3 months. So with some funds that we had in the FY25 budget, we were able to prepay FY26 tuitions. It was about $189,000. So that really helped us out last year in April and May when we were doing the final balancing of this year's budget. That came in and allowed us some relief from having to do any further cuts to balance the budget. So right now, it's really soon to tell, to say where our budget's gonna land at the end of the year. It really just depends a lot on how our out-of-district tuitions fare. We're getting, as I said, we got a new tuition and we lost a tuition, and that's just typical for what we see, what I've seen here over the past 4 years, 3-4 years. We also had some carryover of the Title I and the IDEA grants, a small amount. So that's also too soon to tell. I don't think that we're going to have much, if anything, from that this year. But, I want to keep that in mind, so that's a possibility. We could also use more from our revolving funds. Over the past years, we've kept it pretty consistent with $100,000 from transportation revolving and about $100,000 from preschool revolving. There may be some room, we certainly want to keep those revolving funds as a part of our safety net, but maybe we can look at our balances. We've built those up a little bit over the years, so something that we could consider is maybe, some of the para positions. Maybe we could charge a preschool para to the preschool revolving fund. Maybe we could, use more of the transportation revolving fund to pay for some other transportation costs. So there's that there. And we're also still currently in negotiations with our Unit C, that's our paraprofessionals unit. So depending on how that comes out, because this is year 1 right now, that agreement. So whatever that settlement is going to affect this year, which we budgeted for based on where we thought we were at, but it's also going to affect next year. So depending on how that comes to end versus what our budgeted amounts were. So those are just a few things that, hopefully the CPPI will come through. And, if we could prepay some out-of-district tuition, that would really be helpful also.
And the final slide. So I just wanted to share the cuts that we have made. These are the cuts that we have made in the district since I started. These are all the positions that have been eliminated. This is, I think, over $2.5 million worth of positions. And I share this with you not to try to make you feel badly in any way, but I just want you to know we are thin in our for the school district, and I understand that we're a big part of the town budget. So, relatively speaking, we are as thin as we can be in our buildings, and if I really if we have to cut more, it's going to be impactful on students, and so any support that you can give us to help us fund this budget is greatly appreciated. I know that it's limited to what you can do, but any support is always appreciated.
My comment, which most people won't believe, is that I don't go for your gold, because it's simple philosophy of business. You always ask as much as you can. You can always go down, you can't go up. So you can have plan A, plan B, and plan C.
We like that.
If I was in the school committee, that's what I'd be asking for.
You gotta understand too, though, a lot of it depends on what the state gives us.
Yeah, we get that.
We're not gonna see that for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Hopefully they stay right around the 2% they've been giving us. Because simple math, if you do last year's tax levy and have to add 2.5% to that, it just about covers your increases. It covers a little bit more than your increases, I should say, if I'm thinking.
It's an election year, and the governor is giving up money and everything at the last minute everywhere. She just had a big press conference yesterday, including education.
Well, I'd like to hear that.
And she's saying no to a lot of things too.
She's throwing a lot of stuff out there for votes.
And at the end of the day, the legislature decides what the budget's gonna be. She puts it out there.
Yeah, it's an election year.
Well, I thank you. I've worked with the three of you over the past years, and you've all been very supportive, and thank you. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, appreciate the information.
You three good?
Yeah.
All set?
We'll be able to help.
It's all good.
I'll make a motion, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.